Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another futuristically absurd episode of Monster Party.
Monster Party! Yeah!
Woo!
Crazy! It's wild. It's weird.
It's in the future. Or is it?
I don't know.
Mine's blown just now.
And who are you, sir?
I am Matt Weinhold.
I am Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroth.
And I'm James Gonis.
And for this episode, this is a great topic. This is one that I think we've all been thinking about for ages.
We've kind of dabbled.
And we dabble in it
yeah.
on occasion, but I think this topic deserves a full examination.
Yeah, we are just concentrating on this topic.
Thing. And there's
a show.
Yes.
A whole show.
A whole show about this topic, and the topic is future past.
Future
Future
past.
past.
Past. Future. It's the future. Past. Now, what does that mean?
How does that mean?
Exactly.
What it means is that we are going to look at TV shows, movies, maybe even some books or some comics. Who knows where it's going to go? But we are going to be talking about antiquated looks at the future.
Antiquated.
Meaning, like a movie that was done, say, let's take an example of Metropolis. You know, when we look back at the classic Fritz Lang movie, Metropolis, from 1927, And 1927, they had their own views of what everything was going to look like. And some things they get right, some things not so much.
And aren't there some things that you wish were around?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Okay.
And that's what's so beautiful about this topic is that it's an examination of the good, the bad, the ugly, the weird, the
just
absurd.
A strange and ridiculous.
Strange.
Another way to look at it, Space 1999 sometimes feels like Space 1975.
Always.
The trappings.
And speaking of 1999,
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Yes.
we've got a great guest, don't we?
Why did we go? How does that? How does that even work as a transition? How?
Party-like.
See? Thank you.
go.
Thank you.
right.
I don't know what planet you're on, sir.
He just saved your ass. Is what happened here.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay. Anyway, so let's get to our guest.
Who is
This
our amazing guest?
It is a return guest. He was so great in the last one, which we had, which was Dystopian Futures.
Dystopian Future.
So great, and we're still living it.
Yep.
And
Yes.
and this is just a brilliant comedian. He's an actor. He's been in so many things that you guys, I'm sure, love.
Yep.
Everything from movies like Willow to... Wow, what is that?
Willow. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Hey, there's a lot of Willow fans out there.
The Showtime series, I'm Dying Up Here.
I'm Dying Up Here. It's on now.
That's on right
ladies
now.
and gentlemen.
That's a new credit.
Yes. Cloverfield, The Secret Adventures of Jules Verne, Groundhog Day, one of my personal favorites.
Oh, yeah, it's
great.
Yes.
Eight-legged freaks.
Eight-Legged Freaks. Mrs. Doubtfire, you could almost call kind of maybe horror, right? A little bit.
So a lot of horror people came on board for the makeup.
Oh, there you go. I don't think we've even introduced you.
No. I was going to say,
That's
Matt.
a good time to cut out.
Matt,
This is a good time to cut out. Good night, everybody.
who is our amazing guest?
Ladies and gentlemen, the great, the legendary, my good friend, Rick Overton.
Rick Overton!
Oh, my golly. Wow, that was some intro. Thank
Mr.
you.
Willow.
Yeah, no, we love you. We love you. And
No small parts, only small actors.
yes. But yeah, literally, I guess in that one. Yeah.
Mr. Overton, great to have you.
Yeah.
But you are one of these people that when I see you, I'm happier. Just as a person living this crazy life in this crazy world.
Yeah, it's good to run into a fellow absurdist in absurd times.
And he loves the future.
He does love the future, at least the concept
And
of it,
the
right?
The idea, I love the future I was fed in the 1964 World's Fair.
Yes. Yeah.
With the flying cars.
Yeah.
Right along on magnetic jets of energy. And, it's like, where's that promise of a car? And then you got to really think about the logistics of a hovering car. A real hovering car?
Yeah.
Hovering car, I'd like to see that take tight corners in a highly packed city when you're just floating and bobbing like an apple on water.
Right.
And you try to take a corner. What's holding you into that tight corner?
Yeah. Where do you
You're not using gravity anymore.
No.
They're using directional jets, so you're just blasting people's skirts up like an Apollo mission the whole time. You know?
I didn't think about
Or a
that.
sexy calendar.
Hover car until they figure out anti-grav will be this deafeningly loud. Have you ever been to an air show and watched a Harrier come in close?
Yes.
The ricochet off the tarmac is bad for you.
So
it has to be
imagine
done much further from the crowd than they first started doing. It was messing all their ears up. It's really bad to be near that much, like the cars that you watch with this little the tiny weak stream of smoke coming out, lifting this insanely heavy vehicle.
Or
in
the
air.
circles that came out of the Jetson car, right?
What are those?
I was see, I was queuing you up,
nice.
queuing you up.
God bless you. That's great. But the flying car or hover car, please continue.
The hover car. Yeah, picture it. You have to stop. Oh, the little kid chasing the ball. You're in a hover car.
Whoa, wait, let me back up.
Kid runs out to get the ball. You're in a
Kid
hover
in
car.
an anti-grav suit chasing his floating ball.
So Rick, it's like if you're in the I almost said Hummer car. If you're in the hover car,
odds are you're maybe a foot and a half off the ground.
okay,
just
no,
because
that's ridiculous, Rick. No,
Right.
I mean,
and you don't know how to stop.
Rick, do you
Or a
remember?
foot off the ground.
Remember Back to the Future or Back to the Future Part 2? That was in 1989, directed by Robert Zemeckis. And there's a scene where they have these flying cars, and the cars are not 2 feet off the ground; they're like 80 feet in the air.
Yeah, the Fifth Element also.
Well, that's what we were
The
promised.
cars.
That the full, not just the foot and a half. We were promised the full-on skyway traffic.
know.
Yeah,
And we were, why that's going to really be such a great solution is because we're such good drivers on the fucking ground. That's why that's going to be the thing that's going to sell. You'll be sitting in your safest apartment above the whole city, pouring champagne for your sweetheart. When suddenly, what's that bright light? And it's some guy getting a blowjob in a flying car and just plows into your penthouse.
But Rick, do you think if they had the flying car that you could just fly all over the place? Wouldn't there be like a line or like an area where it's like you have to follow these patterns?
And some hacker will learn how to go off the line, and some kid will immediately figure out how to pull his flying car that his dad gave him, and he swore he wouldn't jump into the black box.
Yep.
So he'll rewire it so it goes off the grid and just flies where he wants it to.
Yeah.
And then the police droids have to chase him.
Right.
Look at Jurassic World, where a couple kids could take an amusement park tram car and just go rogue.
Right.
But even all the movies that have flying cars, like the spinners, the awesome spinners in Blade Runner, they're just there's no real. They're just flying all over, and same with Fifth Element. They're just going all over the place. Even the Jetsons, there's no like rhyme or reason.
Okay, but Rick, I just want to say this though. The thing about Blade Runner that I think is different though, like there's this idea of the beautiful future will have all the flying cars. Maybe that's not realistic, but in Blade Runner, from what I saw, it's almost like it's the police. It's not
That's true.
everybody.
That's
It's
true.
mostly the police, right?
But the more I thought about it, I was
The Saudis have.
Oh, okay. Well,
Did you know that? Oh, you don't know what I'm talking about.
What?
Oh no!
What,
they
a flying car?
They have motor. They have those hover bikes now. The propeller driven hover bikes. The Saudis are just
What
getting
did
them
you
in.
like you pedal like a bike?
No, you don't. It's runs on Tesla Tech batteries and has a fan in the front and the back, and you sit on it like a bike, and you lean forward. You can hike it way up in the air, and it's got police gear on it, and they're testing it right now.
And it's like a copter.
It's a police bike with a fan in the front and the back with a motorcycle rig sitting in the middle of it and battery powering the two fans.
Okay. Now, see, here's the issue though. Let's say you do that, okay? Because I was thinking about this. I started to put some numbers on paper, kind of a thing. Now, like if you think about it, okay, so let's say the cops in the future, let's say in like Blade Runner, these guys they actually they fly in these cars all over the place. Well, just to do a helicopter, a regular helicopter. First of all, you don't see 50 or 100 helicopters in the air. There's like a few, and these helicopters it costs something anywhere between $200 to $300 to operate an hour, and then also there was the wear and tear and the maintenance. You have a flying car. I mean, what is the cost going to be for that thing, and then the wear and tear on that? Rick, you were saying
and the air traffic controllers.
If you had people driving their hover cars all over the place, who doesn't go? I'm going to let the oil lapse, for a little while. I'm not going to, and then
you plummet.
Yeah, and then you're in the outdoor cafe, and the waiter comes with your cappuccino, looks up, and just bolts out of the fucking way while you're sitting there, like looking back. Huh? What? There's this rectangular shadow forms around you.
I'm sitting outside Norm's 3000.
and one more thing, I did see there was a guy from General Motors, and they asked him about the flying car, and they said, you guys had this idea, there was going to be flying cars after the year 2000. What happened? And he said, quite honestly, he goes, you know what? We can give you the flying car. That's not a problem. The problem is it would be so expensive, no one would be able to afford it. So it's almost like it seems pointless to go through.
And it has potential to kill. In a very, very bad way.
They've had a flying car idea for ages with the VTOL capability and all that, or the earlier ones that you just clamp a wing onto and slap them back when you really, really dangerous car.
But it's almost like it's like a portable plane. It's not really a car.
It's a Bond getaway car.
Yes, like a James Bond thing.
From Scaramanga's car.
The opposite of that, though, which I thought was interesting, was in Minority Report, which were smart cars that were like, they just already had the trajectory. You just kind of got in them, and they were like a pre.
Right.
Yes, that was kind of cool. I thought.
Were they flying?
But as Rick pointed out, all you have to do is have some kid hacking the system.
Sure, that's true.
You are guaranteed that's going to happen.
Okay, can I just step off the flying car for a second here? So if you guys are saying, a flying car, really not a great idea because you can have little Jimmy in his backyard, working on a computer, you can hack into these things and create this havoc. Well, right now we're working in 2017. The technology exists of having these, driverless cars driving all over the place. Do you think the same problem can happen?
Of course.
Oh, I think so. I think a driverless car can be taken over by somebody else while you're out cold. They hack in. There's your action film. This important person who is the MacGuffin of your screenplay.
Okay.
They're driving home in their Tesla. They set the thing. They're a little groggy. And suddenly they watch their screen flicker on there. Then you see something else is taken over in the direction. Saying music will indicate that something's wrong. Music, and and then suddenly the car swerves and pulls off immediately into the side road. And he wakes up and he tries and clack the doors lock and he can't get out.
Yeah,
and
it's kind of
hack, and then you cut to this guy at a coffee house just fiddling with his little tablet. No one knows what's happening.
I think that's going to happen now in my car.
Yeah, really.
In just your regular car.
My regular car. Yeah. I'm that paranoid.
So maybe this flying car that we thought was really a cool idea, and when you saw it back in '64, it probably really isn't the best. There's so many things to overcome to make it safe.
But cinematically, I think they're really cool.
Sure.
Yeah.
Watch those hover boats come up on land. They're just got a fish tail and slide all over the place as they try to angle
those
in.
Things?
They do.
Remember, you saw them all the time, like in the 60s and 70s.
That was a big deal. The bonnet ones.
Yeah.
I think
no control at all. I mean, you have to shut the engine and skid along the ground.
Totally.
And stuff.
Now, one thing that has happened that we were promised was going to happen, then for a while we were like, oh, okay, it's not going to happen. But now it's happening, and that is the visual phone.
Oh, absolutely.
The visual phone.
The visual phone.
The vid phone.
The vid phone. It was in everything.
Dick Tracy.
Sure, Dick Tracy.
Wristwatch.
Two-way wristwatch.
Yeah.
But if you look at 2001, that was in 1968. And
look at the price of the call.
Yes.
That killed me, the price of the call.
Yeah.
You kidding me? I can't call Canada for that now.
When the guy's calling from the shuttle or whatever, that was basically Skype.
Yeah.
That was exactly Skype. I mean, they totally predicted that. I mean, that's what there was.
All the satellites in the opening shot were all just companies we know that got everything into orbit. He knew satellites would make man evolve because then everyone can talk simultaneously.
Right.
And everyone trades their cultural ideas at the speed of light.
But
he knew that was the
really,
bump.
But I am so suspicious of anyone who's like super pro, like, hey, why don't we just do Skype? And then I can look at you like, no.
When you look at science fiction, and they showed back in the day, and they showed these two-way conversations on a video screen, it was as if it would be so commonplace that we would all be doing it all the time instead of a telephone.
That's true. But
it has not caught on that way.
But the phone now itself has become that in a way.
Yeah,
but it's funny. It's like we go to certain extremes. Like we'll go either it'll be like, hey, let's have a meeting through Skype, or let's talk through Skype, or you know, whatever related technology. Mm-hmm. It's either that or I'm going to text you. I'm going to go back to the most basic thing, which is I'm going to write you a little mini letter.
Like in school, passing notes.
Passing notes, exactly.
But it's interesting how some movies get certain things, like you said, right, and some not. Like even Blade Runner was looking really ahead with like the digital billboards and the spinner cars. But then it's funny that even though it's the future, Deckard still like uses the old vid phone in the restaurant or the club to call Rachel's, and he's charged instead of like having a cell phone or something.
Right. Sure.
Yeah,
people love that concept.
Yeah, because it was like 1982, so cell phones weren't like coming. Obviously, in the future, it would just be a cell phone. He would just call it a cell phone, but he had to put in money. Like it was a basic like a old pay phone.
Yeah,
it was like a vid phone.
Yeah,
it's just kind of.
But
funny.
you know what's interesting is that like if we're talking about antiquated ideas of the future, when it comes to Blade Runner, that one kind of I give a lot of leeway to.
Yeah, no, me too. I do
because
I
it
like
feels like it's almost an alternate future as
yeah.
opposed to an antiquated one.
Yeah, well, obviously, because Atari is still around, so it's really an alternate future.
Okay, wait, whoa.
It's alterquated.
Now, see, Sean, I brought this up when in dystopian futures. You don't know if maybe they had a resurgence or they came back. That's what you don't know.
That's possible.
Yes, it is.
Well,
yes, it is.
In the Blade Runner sequel, Atari's still around.
Yeah, it is. That's right.
Yeah.
Pan Am still exists.
Pan Am, yeah.
It is. That's definitely an alternate. That's a JJ verse.
Left turn. Exactly.
Well, again, it could be. We don't know. Maybe in the next 15 years, someone's going to say, that whole Pan Am thing is no. You laugh.
I think that's great.
The show was such a success.
Okay.
Let's start the airline again.
But the digital billboards, I'm waiting for. I want to see the Japanese, the geisha woman, giant.
You go to Japan.
Wait. I will. I'll take it a step further though. Like in Back to the Future Part 2, where they actually have the Jaws.
Yeah.
It's actually
3D
Jaws episode 22 or something like that, and the giant shark comes out, and he's 3-dimensional, and Marty McFly's like, and the shark comes and it almost looks like he bites him, and that's like 3D, and
it's true.
That technology is
well. I will say virtual reality. I would say that's a close neighbor to like the holodeck. Speaking of Blade Runner, we went to Comic-Con and they had this Blade Runner experience. And the first part of it, and it was great. It was really cool because they did a mock-up of like 2 streets of the Blade Runner world, and that was neat. And they had extras pretending to be urchins and everything, and that was cool. But then you go to, when you first enter, you go into this virtual reality ride.
You put on the goggles.
And you put on the goggles, and you sit in a chair that has all the simulates the movement and everything. And that was the most excited on Earth thing that I've been on in a while.
Yeah.
Like it was unbelievable, like how good it was. Where I'm reaching my hand out, expecting to see my hand, and it's not there.
That's cool.
And that'll be next.
It's funny because it almost makes the movie Brainstorm look antiquated now, because that was
Brainstorm.
early 80s, but like that was like that whole idea. I mean, but that's kind of like what we
I'm a scientific genius. Can't you tell from the danger in my eyes and my voice?
Now, of course,
inherent street danger.
Now,
I dance with aliens.
Okay, so
how dare you?
Brainstorm with Natalie Wood and the very talented Christopher Walken. Yeah, so there you can record stuff that goes on in people's mind,
and it was a cool idea because then a character dies while wearing the gadget.
And so what happens is there's like it's like a VCR, a special VCR
like a tape,
with rainbow tape.
Yeah,
Nurse Ratchet gets a heart attack.
That's right. That's right.
Now you laugh at that.
No, I'm not laughing. I like that.
Because remember, Matt, at that time, videotape was like brown. It was like this brown, like little piece of tape. And here in Brainstorm, in Brainstorm, it was this big, thick tape, and it's colorful and rainbow-like. And I thought, oh my gosh,
I liked it.
There's all these different levels. There's like the sensory overload, the heart mode, all these different levels. And there was like a big, thick tape that they went through. And I thought it was so cool.
I remember that movie. I remember all the weird stories and everything around that production.
Yeah.
And then going in and finally seeing the movie and going, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah,
this is, and I love the idea of that. It like a guy wears the goggles and records himself having sex.
Yeah,
and cuts it into a loop and almost kills himself.
And then, another guy, like an older guy, puts it on. And it almost kills him.
Yeah.
That's just the way to do it.
I thought it was,
but see, that's the danger.
Maybe someday.
Well, but I don't know if anyone's actually working on that.
Counselor Troy.
Working on that technology where you can actually record someone's thoughts or experiences, and you're able to put it on some kind of, let's say now, a hard drive or something.
That might be way too advanced even for now. Even with today's technology, I haven't heard of anybody doing anything like that.
Yeah, to record as a visual image your thoughts, that's kind of a
However,
a heavy lift. I
mean, the closest thing, we can't exactly record people's thoughts, but what you can do is create some kind of world or environment. Like, you know, the whole video game industry is in that, where you create a whole world, and you know, you can actually go through the virtual reality experience.
Right.
But
now we're talking about a lot of things that are modern now.
Oh,
we should go back to.
I'm sorry.
Because we're talking all virtual reality and everything.
Well, 1980.
Sure. Well, no, brainstorm.
The videotape.
No, I know. But we're linking it to now, and that's fine. But I'd like to get back to some of the roots of antiquated science fiction. And let's just say, I think it's time to address the tribble in the room, which is Star Trek.
Yes.
And Star Trek is an amazing thing, because Star Trek, we were talking brainstorming how it relates to things in the future. Star Trek goes all over the map.
Yeah, and they get a lot of stuff amazingly right, and some stuff like, what the hell are you talking about? Yeah.
And you know, we've got you have the video phone concept.
The communicator
is a cell phone.
The cell phone, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know.
Right down to the flip for the longest time.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm a fan of the gooseneck lamp monitor.
Yeah.
Doidly, doidly, beedly, doodly, do.
That's true. I like that.
I can customize it any angle I want. Hang on tight. What are the instruments saying? I have no. They're kind of oidly doidly. I can't read them, Captain.
The future of office supplies is now. Yeah.
Speaking of the flip phone, you couldn't even buy a flip phone now. I mean, even those have become antiquated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you can't.
That's true.
There are special phones designed to look just like Star Trek communicators.
Isn't there, right? There should be, right? There must be.
Like a Bluetooth
Wally
or something.
Wingert has one.
Of course,
you know, friend of the show. Yeah.
But like you're saying, like some things, and of course, probably the most fantasy-oriented projected idea is the transporter. That's because the transporter is a great idea.
Great concept.
For a
so
show.
what is the transporter?
Well, really? Okay.
You know, some people here, some people don't know Star Trek quite like you and I.
It's a vehicle. It's a car, right?
You see?
Yes, it transports you.
Okay.
It transports your molecular structure.
It's a killer.
It's a rough British guy.
It's Wonka vision.
Takes his shirt off.
It's Wonka vision.
So it beams you from one point A
to another.
to point B. So let's say you're in outer space on your spaceship. They beam you down to a planet.
Right.
They take your body and they take it apart by its molecules, by its atoms.
Yes.
And then
turn it into energy.
Turn it into energy, then reassemble them at your place of destination.
And it makes a really cool sound.
Yes.
That was in the Fly, right? Originally?
That's actually...
It was.
Yes.
And that's pre-Star Trek,
yeah.
right?
Yes. That was the 50s.
That's not... Well,
it was.
Classic
It was the 50s.
Fly, yeah.
Classic, of course.
Yeah. But I always thought there's other things, too, like the replicator, which makes any kind of food.
Yes.
I guess anything.
Well, and when you think about the transporter, if you can do that with the human body...
You know what they're using for the base matter, right?
Chicken.
Yeah, sure, chicken.
What do you...
On a ship full of people.
Okay. What?
They're using chicken. Okay.
Okay.
Base matter, man. What are you going to do?
It's the tastiest Soylent Green.
Wait, you're not saying they're made out of... It's made out of people.
No.
No, it's waste matter.
Oh, no.
Waste
Hey,
matter.
Rick.
It's just molecules and atoms.
Rick.
What are they going to do? Just cast it into space, follow the shit, and you'll find the humans.
Rick, they stop at planets. You know, they go. There's a planet there. Here's a planet here. You stop there. You know, pick up a couple of
We're only stopping once.
Yeah. And what's funny is that Wendy's food just tastes exactly the same.
I do think the food replicator is really, really cool.
Actually, it's kind of like the 3D printer, and you think it's kind of like along those lines.
The 3D
wait a minute.
No, but the 3D printer is the first phase of what the replicator could be, right?
But now you're talking about Rick, you brought up, we're using waste material, but the minute you take it all apart and then rebuild it into a different form that is a sandwich,
throw in some nutrients,
it's not poo anymore.
Well, that's the same thing as when you're a vegetarian. You're eating something that just eats shit all day.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
But it's okay by the time it's a plant.
And then you eat it under the excuse of, I washed it.
Right. And when you eat animals, you're eating something that eats shit all day.
Yeah,
That's true.
So we're all eating shit, is what you're saying.
Beam me up.
Hey, look, I have this. Look,
the circle
I
of
know where
life.
you're going here. I know where you're going. I actually had this thought.
Do you?
Taste the final frontier.
I envisioned they had these giant blocks of like tofu stuff, you know, and it was like giant square blocks of like tofu and lard or something. And when you press in, I want my chicken salad and coffee.
And it just reconstitutes all
Yeah.
that.
Why do you need even that? Why can't you just get like anything, just like the molecules of a chair? Throw in an old chair and you get a sandwich.
Right. It's like
That's
Marty.
true.
It's like Doc Brown's car.
Yeah.
What? Okay. In the second one, when you just throw in
banana
garbage,
peels and
yeah,
crap and
yeah.
it runs on
yeah.
anything.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
It bring up a very interesting point, sir.
How do you like that?
Okay, but
Wow, we brought up interesting points. It's a new one for Monster Party.
There's one device though in Star Trek that I always thought was the most ridiculous though.
What?
That was in a specific episode. It was in Mirror Mirror.
Go for it.
And this was the episode where it was an alternate universe. It was an alternate evil, Starfleet Empire.
Sure.
They're all against, they're violent.
Goatee Spock.
Goatee Spock,
right.
right.
Yeah.
So,
Hipster
but,
Spock.
But the evil Kirk in his quarters had this little secret panel, and behind the secret panel was this thing called the Tantalus field.
That's right, the Tantalus field.
And how this thing works, I have no idea. But apparently, all he has to do is press a button, and one of his enemies, he can zero in on it with a camera.
Yeah, he
somehow.
can see
Somebody
it.
can see an image of his enemy
Yes.
anywhere.
I've got it. I've got
anywhere
it.
on the ship, and just to press a button, he vaporizes.
I think I got it.
How does that work?
Okay, like a nanobot. A very small nanobot.
Camera.
It's a camera
they're
and
all-
a laser.
So they're all over the ship then.
Or it's
at all
like
time.
it's the advanced scout that then draws the other bots that fire a bolt at them.
Or
Okay,
what happens
okay.
is that when it comes time to kill, all the nanobots come together, form this laser, kill, and then
Disperse
disperse.
and-
I'm
Okay.
going to go a
So
step
now-
further.
I kind of like that.
No,
like
no,
that
I'm going
one.
to go a step further. It's called the Tantalus field.
Field, right,
Field.
right.
So,
So
when
it projects-
how I envisioned it, Sean,
Okay.
I know where I was saying. How does he when he operates it and you see this little screen and how can he see it? When I hear field, I think it's energy. Okay, so it sends out waves of energy, not little nanobots. And what the energy does, it senses the shape of things, whether it's the room or whatever, and puts the color in there. So that's how it
That's
sends out
interesting.
So you're saying
field.
it makes a VR and then it makes its own little virtual of
Yes.
it after
Wow,
out of
that's interesting.
sonically scanning it like a dolphin. A dolphin can make a VR picture
Yes,
of a thing in its
and so
head.
Sean, I know what you're saying.
interesting.
No,
I like that
dude,
too.
I know what you're saying, but that's what I thought it was.
Well,
and
now
the
that you
key
said
to
that, I
me
kinda
is
like
field.
That.
Okay,
And because the idea was that this evil Kirk actually
Yes.
stole this
Technology.
technology from an alien scientist.
It could be a field of nanobots.
That's true.
just saying.
But at least you've explained it a little bit
God.
better. Okay, then and let me ask you about the holodeck. Because the holodeck, I like the idea of it, but I still don't understand the physical
The solidity
how
of
you-
it.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
I
How
do you
don't-
get a fist
I
fight in
don't
a
buy
bar?
that.
okay,
I
now,
can't buy that.
but you're jumping from classic Star Trek to
I
Star
know,
Trek
but
Next Generation,
but it's
sir.
It's still a technology that you look at.
At least-
how do you explain that?
One thing I'll say about
Nanobots again?
no.
Can I just go back to the Tantalus field just for 1 second
okay.
and to comment on when the panel pulls back
Yes.
and you
Yes.
see the button
Yeah.
for the Tantalus
Yeah,
field?
Yeah.
it's like
The first thing I thought was,
Play-Doh.
is that the best looking button you could find? Really?
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're all out of buttons. We got to get this thing in on time.
Oh man, well, that was the story.
Yeah, go to our B button box.
No,
The
it's-
prop shop is doing its very best.
It's funny you should say that. I actually did think about that with that button, but
He uses it a lot. So it's
yeah,
getting a
well,
lot of-
it's like
Oh,
that
that's
kill,
true.
dude.
But clean the button from time to time, right?
He uses the hell out of that button. He's pressing the shit out of that thing, man.
Well,
It's got like egg on it, dude. You
No,
got egg on
I'm
it,
sure-
man.
I'm sure
little
he-
coffee.
future Windex. Something.
I am sure he cleans the button, and I'm sure he washes
Right,
his
cleans it and
hand.
accidentally hits it.
That's a
and
euphemism if
Gets
I
rid
ever
of
heard
somebody
one.
he's not supposed to get rid of.
That's great. I'd love to see him killing half the ship by cleaning the button.
Oopsie daisy, zoot, zeet, zoot.
It is
Clumsy me.
It is a very dangerous technology when you're so casual about the button. That is true.
Yeah.
Phasers, boys.
Phasers.
How
go.
come the original phaser's the baddest fucking phaser of all, and they just turned into weaker little pew until the most recent one is a little bolt that if you're quick, you can duck. You can get out of the way of the slow laser bolt.
I do like the original classic.
And you're gone.
Okay. Which are we talking about? The little one that was like a little hand, or the one shaped like a gun?
The hand phaser is part of the pistol phaser.
It comes on.
Right. That's right.
If the main one breaks, you got a spare. You're still in the fight.
Okay, and I did not know that, sir.
Really? As a Star Trek fan?
Yes, as a Star Trek fan.
James would know that even.
James, you know that, right?
Of course. Larry.
Second aid doesn't have as much juice. It's like the little Derringer. You got a few shots left, and you get to help you get out of there.
Yeah, James, don't hold back. I mean, feel free to participate here. I mean, come on.
But can I say, like, when we're talking about the phaser, what is wrong with the pistol design? Pistol still works to this day.
That's true.
It's
there's something
handguns.
Satisfying about it.
Earmark of America. A pistol works. Why then, when we got to like the next generation, that all of a sudden now they're dustbusters and
Yeah, that's
like
true.
a weird wand. It looks like your TV remote. In fact, they actually made a TV remote.
That's true. That's true.
Bendy one.
Yeah.
It's sort of curved. It looks like a sex toy.
Yeah.
But,
How do you even aim that thing?
Perhaps they felt that it's more efficient to hold the phaser.
I think you'd lose
No,
it.
I
then.
know what. I know what it is. You know what it is? It's Gene Roddenberry. He looked at it and he went, "That looks too violent."
Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, probably. You're right. You're right.
You want to be more PC, anti-gun.
They should have had it in the shape
What
of
if we clean the life from you?
I'm so grateful Star Trek is back into looking for a fist fight everywhere it goes again. Thank God. They're back into being the ones to pick the fight.
Yeah.
Are they? I haven't seen.
They're ready for it now, man.
Really?
Well,
Okay.
yeah. It reflects reality.
Yeah, I know. I kind of miss the old vibe too, but the action's
totally.
great in the new one. But something
And
about
Doug Jones, my God.
Doug Jones
he is the shining star of that
stealing
thing.
the
Really?
dang.
Oh, man. I
he's so good.
gotta see it
By a mile.
still.
He is
But-
super duper.
He's
But
the
now-
Mr. Spock of the show.
He is, and he's
Totally
fabulous. He's so good. But here's the
Can
question.
you do that again? Because you said it with jazz hands.
He's fabulous. You don't have to ask me twice to do jazz hands. But one thing that the new show points out, which is the problem that all these shows following the original Star Trek had, is that Star Trek is a thing of its time. And so now when you're doing shows where, hey, this one's going to be a prequel.
Yeah.
This one's going to be in between the prequel.
Right.
That they were constantly getting into these problems of updating something.
Yeah.
How do you explain it being way more advanced now than the one we remember from supposed to be the
Right.
future of you?
For example, Enterprise, the show Enterprise. You look at Enterprise, and I get the idea that they made it look a little more mechanical.
Yeah.
Everything had
Yeah.
it was less smooth surfaces, and so I get, okay, this is the older Trek, but it still looks way more advanced than Star Trek: The Original Series.
Right.
It's like all of a sudden they went like, okay, we got all these dials and everything, and you know what we should do? Let's have some big light up buttons everywhere. Let's have a bunch of lights that don't really do anything.
I like the lit up buttons.
I love it
I mean,
too.
yellow and red and
I love it too.
and green.
It's just kind of silly
You're so
that you would,
scientific.
yeah.
Well, you laugh, Rick. Don't you think it's no? I was just gonna say, don't you think it makes a lot of sense? It's like, oh, the danger button, it's the red button, and it's like to move forward, to go, it's the green button.
I love the shows from the 50s. Set the controls for outer space.
That's true.
Better hang on to something. We don't have seatbelts.
I also like all the alerts, like the yellow alert. Brah, brah, brah. I can't hear myself give orders. Can we lower that a little bit?
Well, look. You can understand yellow alert. It's like, oh, mildly, intense and
so red
dangerous.
alert is a bright red flashing
yes.
bulb.
Well, and it gets your attention, Matt.
It does.
Matt,
but then turn it off.
Well, when you get to where that danger is, sure, you can turn it off because you need to
Correct
concentrate.
me if I'm wrong. Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
Isn't there a scene where all of a sudden it goes to red alert and then the whole fucking bridge is red?
Yeah,
like,
pretty
I
much.
can't see anything. We've already established that he has trouble seeing.
Yes, that's
Shatner.
true. No,
Sure. Captain Kirk.
Captain
He
Kirk.
wears the
Kirk.
granny glasses. That's right.
Yeah, and he's got his
They're
glasses.
not granny glasses.
So he-
Bifocals?
They should have given him John Lennon glasses. That would have been a nice touch.
Yeah.
But yeah, now everything's red, and
Yeah,
so no one
everything's
can
red.
see anything, and he's supposed to still be, the captain.
I like
And
when there's a
effective.
calming woman's voice letting me know I have 7 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Have a nice explosion.
That's from Dark Star.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which is great.
Yeah,
Fantastic,
yeah.
right?
Okay.
But that was a guy, though, right? Wasn't it? Or was it a guy or a female?
Oh my
No,
god!
that was a female.
That was a
Wasn't it?
female.
Yeah,
It was a female.
yeah.
Well,
Okay.
Mother in Alien.
Yes.
Now, that's a woman.
That's
Yes,
a female
and I if you are saying, Rick, if you are saying, okay, you know the female computer voice, you know it's all over the place, and in fact, it's
have
on
it in
our
my
phone.
car.
Dude, it's on our phone. Siri.
Siri.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's.
Now, who went for the
Siri
British?
And Alexa.
Who went for the British?
Oh,
And
I
who
know-
went for
I
the
know.
British because of Diana Rigg, Mrs. Peel?
Right.
Just to jump off for 1 second, who went for the British voice because of Mrs. Peel?
It sounds like her. It's not. It's
Siri.
Not, it's not
setting it up.
really her. Though.
No, the one with the British voice.
Oh, I'd like to do the British voice.
Oh, yes, you do.
Wow, that's
You want that
cool.
one?
Steed, the weather in Studio City is 75 degrees.
We're needed.
You know, the woman who does the voice of Siri follows us on Twitter.
We got to get her on the
Really?
show.
Yeah, we got
Does she live in L.A.?
I think so.
That's
Oh, we gotta
awesome.
get her
Oh
on.
my
Yeah.
gosh, that's so
for
awesome.
crying out loud.
We got to do a
That's
artificial
cool.
intelligence, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something, yeah.
But that's funny because, like, you think of HAL 9000 and even like Jarvis from the Iron Man movies. I mean, that we have that exists.
How did
that
it go
is-
to
Alexa,
slightly effeminate to? Because Hal is,
Yeah.
there
Okay,
was that
but-
sort of tradition too.
No,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Now let me just talk.
William
no,
Daniels.
Okay, now before we jump, look,
Exactly.
From
Before, God rest his soul.
Before we jump all over Hal and go, oh, Hal's all crazy. Look, you know, Hal's voice.
None of
is
those
a very,
things happen, by the way.
Listen. Hal's voice is a very. You can back me up here, right, James?
Absolutely.
He's seen the movie.
Yeah, Hal's voice is very soothing. It's comfortable.
Yeah,
He's very relaxing. And
Yes.
wait, I have a problem. There's a problem on this. I'm like, oh, okay, great. He's not yelling at me or anything
will
like that.
I dream?
And
Well,
they
that-
went to a female in 2010. It was Candice Bergen, I think, was Sal.
She did the voice.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
But
oh, wow. Okay.
Cool. I didn't know that.
I don't
Great.
remember that
Great.
one, that movie that well.
Yeah, it's pretty
Great.
cool.
Well, now if we're going back to, let's go back to Star Trek then. Majel Barrett.
Yes. Who was
And
the computer
it
voice
was the
of
computer
Next
voice,
Generation?
which was an interesting choice for a computer voice because it's female, but it's not exactly soothing.
But the original series
Yes.
voice was more. It was female, but it was robotic. It
Yes.
was working. Remember? So it was
Working.
But again, there was a little bit
Calculating.
There was a bit of a
was,
nasal
Charlie
edge.
7.
There was a bit of a nasal edge
Okay,
to
okay.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
Was it nasal or was it computer?
physiological changes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm hitting that tone that gets right into your head.
Gary 7.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are all talking like that.
Yeah.
So it's like Dalek? Is that what a Dalek is?
No. Don't mix those up.
Dalek, no, you got to throw you got to throw Cockney in there or some sort of
Who invited him?
exterminate.
I like that.
Oi. I'm going to exterminate you.
All right. So getting back to the computer voice, though.
But what voice would you prefer? Like I do like Alexa's voice.
I like them all.
Yeah,
I'm not even saying that that's bad. I'm just saying it's interesting that these were the things that people chose and then lasted. Like they
that's true.
caught on.
Here's the thing that I thought was really cool. There is a classic Star Trek episode where they were having a problem with the computer.
Right,
And the
right.
computer actually picks up a voice that is used on this planet, which is kind of run by females. And they decided to give it a female voice that was very casual. It was like, hello, dear. And it irritated the hell out of Spock.
To the bridge, dear.
Yeah. And it even had a tendency to giggle, as Spock would say.
That's right.
And
That's right.
Who would do that, computer? Really? Hi, dear.
Okay. Well, let me ask you something. Let's say you're on some mining planet, okay, or some mining asteroid. It's like you and Rick and maybe
I got to
two
hear
other
this.
guys, okay? And then it's like, oh, I'm here with a bunch of guys. Gee, it'd be great if I had, the
They
computer
make
voice.
sex robots now.
Well, yeah.
They're making them right now.
It's been
and
in the
like
news.
that's going to be the rise of the machines. Right there, it's going to be.
So
I'm still waiting for that model, that perfect model. I keep going to the store and looking at what they got, and I'm like, nah, not there yet.
okay.
They all look like they're just like they're yawning.
Yeah, like right.
Wrap it up.
Okay, so it sounds like we're moving from the computer voice to robots or
They're yester guesses of robots.
interactive robots.
Yeah, right.
It's funny you should bring up robots because I actually had a robot here.
Which
and,
robot?
Well, Gort from The Day the Earth Stood Still from 1951. And the thing I loved about it, I thought about this, wouldn't it be cool? I mean, the idea is, here's this robot that has supreme power over the humans. So, and the robot is there to make sure that the humans are protected, or his human, the guy who's in charge of,
the boss. Keep an eye on the boss.
Is he the boss? Is he the boss, or he's just assisting to make sure that he
he's the boss.
Well, regionally, he's the deputy, and Klaatu's the sheriff.
But then, but then, what is revealed is that Klaatu says they have power over us.
Exactly. We have given them power over us.
That was the only way we could stop war, is to give all power over to
the robots.
The robots.
Wow. Can you imagine? Yeah. Can you imagine
Robert Wise.
If we had that technology now, where you had, instead of some rogue cop, you had the Gort walking around, making
They're
sure
working on it.
Exactly. Or let's say in times of conflict or war or something, if you had these robots that were so powerful, it's like, what's the point of even going to war? Because we'll just be...
Well, we already have drones, robots that go in, that can go in and dismantle bombs.
That's a drone. That's not a robot, and actually can actually think.
Were we a noble species? Yes. But this is a species that can't wait to fucking see it in action.
Sure.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, and we in a previous episode, we were talking a little bit about Colossus, the Forbin Project.
Yeah.
Remember that movie?
That was a computer.
Yeah. And so that's
TV
another
movie.
No, theatrical, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
wow. It was. Yeah.
But it's but the idea of like these two supercomputers link, the Russian one and the American one, and they get to a place where they realize that man is insane.
Yeah.
And so we're going to take over and we'll stop all wars, which is kind of like also like
it's the UN. It's an analogy for the UN.
If they could do it. But like what I'm saying is that it took these computers to go, you guys are crazy. The human race is insane. The only thing that will stop you from destroying yourselves is us. And so it's the same thing with Gort.
Yeah.
And what I also, as a side note about the design of Gort, one thing I love about Gort as an android that I think still almost works today is that it looks formidable.
Yes.
And because that is what that android or robot was created for.
Yes.
This is not here to change the diapers or do your laundry.
It's like a sentry.
It's like here to kick some ass when ass needs to be kicked.
It's about 8 or 9 feet tall. It
looks like a knight.
Well, in a way, no eyes. And unlike something like what was it, Robin Williams' Bicentennial Man or something like that, happy little, 5'8", robot guy.
Right.
I mean, that's not formidable.
No, a different kind. I would argue a different kind of android.
Right. He's there to make kids feel comfortable.
Yeah.
When you're walking around the house.
I would say Gort isn't really even an android. Because
no, he's not an android. He's a robot.
Android means it's made to look like a human. That's not what it is.
Well, also that it has... Androids usually have some sort of sentience or...
cognitive thought.
Right.
No, David's an android.
David is an android, yes. A great android in 2 terrible movies. And I wish they were better. David from Prometheus and...
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Right.
You remember that.
Unfortunately, I do, yeah.
He's my favorite part of both of those movies. More so in the first one, in Prometheus, than in Covenant.
Fassbender's great in everything.
He is.
But that story, the script...
no, we can't go there again.
I think it logically explains why we all are suddenly bullied by these giant bald douchebags with too many muscles right now. Descendants of those engineer guys.
Yeah. The insult that made a man out of Mac.
All right.
So like when you think of classic sci-fi, there's also certain ideas or tropes that I always thought was funny because, like you look at, especially lots of movies in the 50s, even the 60s, like the idea of a computer. It's the opposite of what it really is now, which is the bigger the computer, the more powerful it is.
Right.
A computer will take up the entire room.
Yeah.
With the checkerboard squares of and the wheel back and forth because each one of those whirring things is saying one letter. It's taken one entire year to build this building-sized computer, and it is capable of saying the word "the."
It's funny you should say that. Remember, was it the $1 billion brain? And there's a giant room, and it has all these machines, and it has the giant tape-to-tape reels on, and it's like hundreds of them. Carl Malden.
Is that a comedy?
No, that's Harry Palmer. It's a sequel to the Icarus File.
Yeah, the Icarus File. Yeah,
weird movie too.
Yeah, it is, but science fiction. But going back to a big computer,
data cards going past brushes on a wheel.
Yeah, but that was always the idea that it has to be huge and imposing and large. The smarter it is, which is exact opposite of what we're doing. I mean, things get tinier and
smaller.
Tinier.
What is interesting is that how fast. Like I would say, Star Trek did a pretty good job of at least when they would. Exploration team would go to a planet and you'd have a tricorder, which is a pretty scaled down version of the computer. And you could use that as a computer. In fact, in like City on the Edge of Forever, you've got Spock using the tricorder to get all this information about what's happening.
Yeah.
Right.
He's the main problem he had was power.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But that was kind of ahead of its time.
Yeah,
it didn't seem like even after Star Trek, in every movie that they had a computer. Yeah, you're right.
Even into the 70s,
it had to be big to show that it was powerful.
And what do Spock and the professor from Gilligan's Island both have in common? They both went to DeVry.
I thought you were going to say they can both make things out of coconuts, but
probably too. Yeah, I think you got something there.
That's an extra course.
Spock could have made like a rudimentary weapon out of coconuts.
Sure,
to use against the Gorn.
He also made a really nice coconut cream pie.
Okay, now guys, I don't know the title. I'm trying to go way back to there was a film that was made, I think, back in the 30s or so, and they kind of predicted some things about the future, and I'm not sure if it's things to come.
Things to come.
Probably,
but there's a scene. I'm
or
not
just
sure.
imagine.
Just imagine. Is it the one where these people go to the side of a building and they look at each other, husband and wife, and they go, "So, what do you think? Should we get a boy or a girl?" "Oh, a boy." "Okay. Should we get blonde hair, blue eyes?" "Let's go brown hair, blue." And they go to the wall, press a couple buttons, and out comes the baby that they want.
That's right.
Yeah.
That
In
might
the future.
be just imagine.
Just
it
imagine.
doesn't sound like things that
No. And I remember thinking it was so disturbing to me. I went, well, so they have a batch of babies in there? And they go, I'm sorry, little club-footed, little brown-haired, blue-eyed kid. No one's pressed your buttons, so we're going to keep you in the...
But it's like the replicator. It's like they build the baby from scratch.
Oh, that's what you think? You don't think?
That's what I think.
Okay,
yeah.
the funny
Seriously.
Well, I thought the babies were in the back.
No, they have
no,
It's like pet store.
Rick.
It's so cruel. They're in those cages.
Rick, I'm going to tell you a story.
They're not healthy.
No, hear me out. Okay, so one of my first jobs I worked at Toys R Us, okay? And when I was working at Toys R Us, it was...
Better be a good story.
This is when the Cabbage Patch Kids came out. Remember the Cabbage Patch?
God.
And remember there was this fury over... I mean, people were flipping out over the Cabbage Patch Kids. And what would happen is when the Cabbage Patch Kids came in, they'd put them out in the aisle, and people would like break down the door, and there'd be fights. So
I saw on the news.
Yes. So Toys R Us came with an idea. They said, you know what? Okay, we're not putting them on the floor anymore. Now what we're going to do is you come in, you fill out your name, and say you want a girl with blue eyes and brunette, and you come at a specific time, and we're going to send you one. My job at Toys R Us, one of the first things was I had to be up on the second floor, and what would happen is they'd send me a little note that says, "Larry, please send down a girl with brown hair, blue eyes." And I got the pick, and how they all look different. So I would just grab one and throw it down the slide. They go down the slide.
What an asshole!
No. There's this,
Quit your crying, you little shit.
No, but I'll never forget. So
You're lucky to be adopted at all.
No. So I did this for hundreds of kids. Then one day. They said, "Okay, Larry, we need a little blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl." So I just grabbed one, and her face was kind of cute, kind of the nose was a little big, and I threw it down the slide. Well, I heard the little girl didn't like it. I'm like, "Are you rejecting the doll I just sent down the slide?" And it caused a big problem. And what happened was, she had to take it. We weren't going to get another one. And they went to the manager, and the manager came back, and he brought the little girl all the way up into my area. To pick out her own freaking Cabbage Patch doll. I was livid.
All right,
That's an abrogation of authority.
Yeah. to get off the topic slightly, Larry has a lot of anger. And the way he was telling
dolls.
a lot of those
too.
And I'm telling you, the way he told that story, that anger is just as fresh in his mind.
You know, Matt, I can remember it like it was yesterday. And I remember thinking...
Really? So one little girl
Matt,
wants a fucking different doll? You're not going to let her come up and get the doll she wants?
That little doll that she rejected...
That
little doll that was rejected was thrown in like the back. And you know,
yes, and it's crying.
Well, you remember
crying. It's non-existent.
Toy Story? Do you ever watch Toy Story?
Okay, no.
Toys talk to each other.
Okay, now we're getting into dangerous. You need help area.
Okay, look.
What did the doll say to you in the middle of the night?
No. I'm just saying it reminds me.
I just see a lot of like night vision, like security cams as you console the doll at 1 a.m.
You know when you hear that. It's that little Fisher-Price piano music starts playing in the soundtrack, and the doll's head cranks over and looks at him, you know? But just a psychic echoing voice because they put it in later.
Wow.
But the doll would actually say...
Why won't you ever try to sell me?
And then I would say
Why
the doll...
didn't you protect me, Cabbage Patch Napoleon?
Did. And then I would say, I did my best. It was the manager. Go kill him. That's what I would say. But but Matt, I mean, you bring up a good point.
I often joke that this is the last episode of Monster Party.
No, but I'm just going back to that movie.
You are out of your mind.
No, I'm just saying, I'm trying to show you the parallel.
No, you're
thing.
showing me.
That's from that movie, that classic movie when the people said, "Oh, we want a little this, we want a little boy," and they press the button, and it just reminded me of the time.
Also fiction. By the way.
I know, but it just reminded me of the time when I worked at Toys R Us and I gave out Cabbage Patch Kids.
And you were angry that a little girl wanted a different doll than the one that you grabbed, like with your eyes closed,
insulting,
and threw down the shoe.
Okay, first of all, I didn't close my eyes. And I always tried to put a lot of care into it. But you know what? Let's just say I have some issues I need to work through.
As you're glaring at the girl who's like looking at the dolls.
No.
What? Yeah.
No.
Did they complain that there was a dart sticking out of it from your selection process?
No. When the manager brought her up, I left the room. I wasn't asked. I don't want to look at that kid. You know.
Yeah. You're in the hallway just like.
There's only one boss of this room at a time, huh?
I was the boss of the Cabbage Patch Kids. Yes.
Wow. May I suggest a lawn dart?
Wow.
Do you know I still have my
That's beautiful.
I still have my Toys R Us vest.
Wow.
Why did you not tell this story during the monster therapy episode? We could have made a lot of progress.
No, because we ran out of time. Remember, we ran out of time. I wasn't able to get to that part. We had the therapist. He was, paying him per hour or something. We didn't want it to go into like multiple hours.
You're so considerate.
I'm gonna call. Believe me, he will take your call now.
All right,
ready.
Okay, so does anyone?
All right, back to the topic.
Does anyone remember that scene though? Does anyone remember that scene?
I don't. I don't.
But that's one of those movies that's like a cult one that's
kind
of around the time of things to come.
Yeah.
And everyone wore a shower cap, a silvery shower cap, because that's my future hat.
So and dresses,
1930,
right?
Dresses.
And skirts.
Sort
of a man's lame skirt thing. Yeah.
Which they tried to, when cut to
kilt.
But we cut to the Next Generation. Do you know that for that first season, they tried to reintroduce the unisex Starfleet uniform?
Right.
What? Wait,
yes,
what?
No,
I'm not sure what.
You go back to that first season.
It's a half moo-moo.
No, well, no.
That's moo. It's just one moo.
That's another one. But in the first season, there are men wearing skirts or kilts, whatever you want to call it.
Really?
Go back, yes.
Oh, wow.
And that was another Gene Roddenberry thing. In the future,
interesting.
I'll be fine with this.
I'll wear grass skirts.
Well, you're watching the next Star Trek: The Motion Picture. When they pull into Starfleet, there's all people walking around half naked and flip flops and stuff, just cash, and that's them going to work.
I thought that was kind of cool.
I always thought the
future. They don't care about your get up so much if you do your job, right?
Yeah, but I thought the uniforms in the first Star Trek motion picture were pretty bland looking too.
Yeah, and they didn't have pockets.
They were just
they're 70s version of how they thought that people would just wear pantsuits in space.
Yeah.
And wasn't that a famous designer? I can't remember the designer's name, but they got like a famous designer.
Kind of like Space 1999, but I kind of like Space 1999, their looks.
Space 1999 is the one that had the famous designer. The first season.
Yeah, I like. I have to admit, I like the look
Everyone had that Euro racing car stripe.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. It was
All the
kinda
one
cool,
piece.
though.
Everybody got. If you got to take a crap, you're in a fucking one piece. And you got to take
And gigantic bell bottoms.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
Big flares.
Big flares, yeah.
Yeah.
And I would think that for space, a skinny jean, right?
Yeah.
Something.
You got to jump into your pressure suit while you're wearing the fucking flare pants.
Yeah,
That's
right.
true. That's true.
That takes like 3 different tries.
I need a
Yeah.
ruler to stuff my fucking pants down the legs. They don't bunch up by my junk. You walk like this, it looks like you farted in the suit and just loaded it.
Commander Koenig, do you have your flare fork?
Now you bring up a very interesting thing, Rick. Okay, so let's say you're on your spaceship and you're just going out in space, and we've seen this from footage of our astronauts, out at the space station, and their hair's kind of flying around. They're getting, do you need to create some kind of gravity to make sure that you're grounded,
Yeah. That's the thing about another trope of the 50s especially. I always thought it was funny because zero gravity in 50s cinema was always hilarious because there's always like the comic relief guy who okay, we're in orbit now, and he takes off his seatbelt and he starts floating in the air, or his apple starts floating away.
Like in Destination Moon. But at least
every movie.
But Sean, at least they had the decency of acknowledging zero gravity.
Thank you.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you.
Or the other ships, they're just not spinning. Everyone's just clamped down.
Yeah,
They just didn't bother with it.
We
accept
talked about Rocket Ship XM, and also the Terror from Beyond Space. I mean, they're in outer space.
It's a rocket, but it's right.
Don't get me wrong. I love the movie, but if we're gonna go
scientific accuracy,
science,
right.
The thing that got me about the early, especially like the 50s movies where the guy would be going in space, and so they understood about zero gravity, and so the guy is taking off his belt or something, and it always seemed like the person that it was happening to, they were completely surprised.
Whoa, what's going on?
Maybe you should inform your astronauts about zero gravity.
Yeah.
It would probably save a couple steps.
What? That's like the Bill Paxton, just let him on board. I'm sure he's fine.
He's fine. Yeah, he's okay.
He's fine in a crisis.
Yeah.
I trust this kid.
Also, and I always love the guy from the Bronx or whatever.
Me and my
I just know how to fix stuff and junk. I ain't no good with words and nothing. But the monkey likes me.
Where's the monkey?
She trusts me.
I was doing doo-wop on the corner, and then the space people got me for the ship.
And also, speaking of guns, also back in the 50s, they would just have regular guns on the ship.
Yes.
A revolver. Hand me the space revolver.
Yeah. And
Reliable.
And they would smoke cigarettes too all the time.
At least that makes sense too.
Listen.
That makes sense too, because that's the technology of the time.
It was the technology of the time. And as far as the gun goes, Sean, I mean, even in a film that I love, Robinson Crusoe on Mars.
Right.
I love that film. And when one of the items that they have in the little box to protect itself is it's a revolver. That at the time was the technology.
A pilot, it was a pilot's kit. Yeah. An Air Force pilot, you got the kit, it's got a revolver in there. It's like you can dump that in the mud and it keeps shooting,
Right.
That little cylinder will turn, or an automatic.
Good, solid piece of
Right.
But there would be a bunch of stuff in there, not just the gun, but there'd be like a toothbrush and toothpaste and
space
space
condoms.
Space condoms.
Yeah.
They're just regular ones.
Space condoms.
But the labeling, it's silver.
They're silver, so they're in space.
Don't if it ain't broke, But
space condoms.
The one thing that I love though about Robinson Crusoe on Mars, is that now he's out of food.
Yeah.
And his monkey,
Mona
finds a space water sausage.
Yeah.
Yes.
She finds the water sausage.
The water sausage.
And the monkey eats it, and he's like, "Oh, I guess it must be fine."
Just past Dr. Monkey's test. Professor Monkey says it's okay.
Yeah. It just ate what's left of my shoe. But okay, now it's eating this and it seems to enjoy it.
But you think that's not logical? That makes total sense to me. The monkey found that.
Wait to see how the monkey is. But okay, fine.
And
even Indiana Jones had to have Sala grab the date out of his
bad
hand.
dates.
Yeah,
bad dates, indeed.
And then taking those little sausages and heating them up.
Yeah.
Making them into that stew or whatever.
Yeah, the stew.
And then surprised that he gets poisoned.
Whoa. I thought he ate too much. He was. I thought it was so good.
Now you're using my drug rules.
No. Those little sausages that he finds. First of all, they look really yummy. Okay, I remember thinking to myself,
how many little tiny apples on the trees that those little berry things that you eat?
Okay. Let me ask. Okay. I got another story for you. Okay, who here doesn't love orange juice?
I do. A glass of orange juice.
Okay.
I love some orange juice.
I remember as a kid. Do you remember how that orange juice used to come in like a little cylinder, and you put it in a giant pitcher, and you add water, and you'd mix it up. Remember those
Concentrate.
things? Yeah.
Yeah, right. Frozen.
I remember the very first time, because I had watched my dad make it all the time, and I got to make the orange juice myself, and I was so proud of myself. I was so excited. And
but then some little girl wanted a different type of orange juice.
No. So I had myself a big glass of orange juice, and I was so proud because I made it. Well, I decided to have another glass and another glass. I drank the entire thing.
And the moral of the story is you got a tummy ache.
I got a really bad tummy ache. Okay. And so I'm thinking in Robinson Crusoe on Mars.
You heard it here first.
Did the hallway do that Hitchcock Zolly stretch to the bathroom? I'll never make it in time.
I'm just
Orange, the gateway juice.
Aren't your size? Lose 50 pounds.
Matt, I'm just saying that like when he ate the sausage and the stew, I thought that it was so good that he ate so much that
Is that really what you thought?
Yes, I thought he got sick because he ate too much. What we don't see is whether he had like a bad bowel thing or a bad throw-up moment.
The thing is, there is no substitute food supply after that. It is only those to eat. So if that's the one bad thing, he's dead anyway if that's all there is left to eat.
What do you mean he's dead? No, he get used to it. He goes, okay.
That's what I mean. Is it had to mean that he had to accustom himself.
Like for example, let's say
look, it was microbes in the water that I think got him. Because they didn't get sausage, never got him. Stew got him. I think there was something in the water.
Yeah. Okay. Or another thing. Let's say how many people are like, I can only eat gluten free. Well, it's like this is like a new thing. Well, what if you had to live off something that had gluten in it,
right?
And then of course, you'd have some bad.
You adapt to survive.
Right. He didn't seem that hungry. I'm just saying he took to the first food that he saw, food in quotes, very quickly. And wouldn't you like, let's make. Isn't there some sort of test maybe that he could do or something? Take a little tiny bit and go, I'll sleep on it and see how I feel.
Okay. Well, what I will say is, he was pretty hungry. And it's like, well, if this doesn't work, what am I going to do? Eat the monkey? How long is that going to
eat the monkey?
Okay, great. Let's say he eats the monkey. Well, how long does that last, Matt?
Long enough.
Okay, well, let's just.
Well, then he finds people on the planet. So
no, but he doesn't know that there's anyone there. But you know what? We're jumping all around. What I want to tell the listeners is, from 1964, Robinson Crusoe on Mars. I think it's a great film because they were trying to make it as scientifically plausible with the scientific knowledge that they had at the time.
Sure.
All right, where did it fall apart?
Go.
In wardrobe. Where did wardrobe fall apart on that movie? The Martian slave owners and those corny big silver helmets that were from the other movies. The fucking suit
from
is
Destination
from.
Moon.
You know that the ships are from War of the Worlds.
The
snake part taken on.
Okay. Now
they painted them silver. Those sacrilegious.
Yeah, I know.
They didn't leave it copper.
Okay,
they wrecked those Martian war machines.
That's true.
Look,
the originals.
Because even when I first saw that, wait a minute, that's War of the World, and they made him go really fast.
Okay, but look,
and then the destination.
And they used those noises again.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
Yeah.
That is what they just took and used for Star Trek in the series.
Yeah.
First photon torpedoes.
Yeah.
It's like
That's
cable
right.
sound
It
of
was
hitting
like-
a hammer
it was
on
like
a cable.
It's like they were like taking from all these different things.
Oh,
They
sure.
must have had
Star Trek took
money.
elements of things. Star
Yeah.
Trek took the rotating disc belly thing from the C-57D and Forbidden Planet.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And
Yeah,
used
well,
it
Rick,
for the two
for the
nacelles for the
nacelles.
engine.
Well, Rick,
Yeah.
where they're saying it's the same drive.
Look,
Right.
you are a
Yeah.
smart guy. You're like Mr. Sci-Fi guy over here. Okay, you've seen all these things, and it's like to listeners though, not everyone has seen all these movies, and it's like the first time.
Get to it.
Well, I'm just saying it's still a neat
I did
film.
it.
Yes, they did some things here that you can recognize. Oh, I know that. And also when the slave owners, the way you see them, it's like you kind of don't see them that well. You know, the camera's kind of moving around, kind of. But I know to the trained eye, like you have a trained eye, you can see that. Oh, they're from Destination Moon. You can kind of see the guys. So, but it's like
they raided the George Powell.
But it's like, dude, you don't know. It's not like, hey, you have a blank check, you can spend all the money. No, they had a certain amount of money. I like what they did. They tried to put as much in there as possible to try and make it scientifically accurate.
And the main ship is the LAX restaurant.
Oh yeah, it does look like
Look just like it.
When's that going to open? Is that still open?
No, Encounter. No, it's closed, unfortunately.
James.
Yes.
Give us one. Give us one that sticks in your craw. One that just sticks in your mind as something that it looked cool at the time. You thought maybe there was a possibility of it, and here we are, and nothing. Nothing.
Well, what hits me is always that these shows and movies are so particular to the time that they were made.
Right.
And sometimes they get it right, and sometimes they just don't. I mean, it dates badly. Like even a movie like it was a benchmark, like A New Hope, like Star Wars in 1977.
Sure.
You look at it now, and you think back when we were like 12 years old, oh, this is going to be evergreen. This is like science fiction or. You look at it now, and Mark Hamill's got this Dorothy Hamill haircut, you know?
Whoa. Wait.
Even Harrison Ford is looking 70s.
It was. I mean, he definitely had 70s. They still had 70s haircuts, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that you brought up Star Wars. No, because, wait a minute. I know. I'm happy that you brought up Star Wars because Star Wars is a unique example of something that is not only is it's not our future. Yeah, it's not our past. You know, it's a long time ago. Whatever.
It's like an alternate.
It's another universe.
Right.
And so those are always kind of hard to gauge to say that. Well, but this is another planet, so they might have a whole different aesthetic. You know,
the only metric you're stuck with are basic physics,
basic physics,
and human nature.
Right. Well, now if we're talking basic physics. Sure, the dogfights in Star Wars.
Yeah,
okay. but whatever. Yeah. We'll go with that. We'll go with that. But
their universe has sound in a vacuum.
Exactly. Right. They have headphones inside the. Right. But it gets them worked up, you know, and it gets them more excited about the job. But the design, I think, of Star Wars still really holds up. I would even say that when you go back to the prequels. Like, that stuff doesn't hold up.
I agree. Yeah. I always thought when they first made the first Star Wars, I think George Lucas always had this in mind, too. He wanted to make a lived-in universe. It was the opposite of, like, the 50s where everything's, like, shiny and chrome and perfect and straight edges. It felt like a lived-in universe, and that still carries over into the new movies.
Everyone's got to make it all paneled and dirty now. Ever since that,
that's
now
true.
Everything's got to be all paneled.
Right. That is true.
That's kind of a Jerry Anderson helped a lot with that.
Yeah, a little bit.
He brought us the idea of paneling up something to make it not look like one spray painted thing that's actually
to make it look like machinery and
the Eagles I think are a very good example.
Even
of
before
that.
Thunderbirds had
some.
And by the way, Thunderbirds are a very interesting phenomenon. The Thunderbirds is a complete Air Force designed for absolutely peaceful purposes.
That's true.
Just to fucking help you for free. When the last time you ever saw that?
Yeah, what a great idea.
Bristling with barrels of guns. These are mostly, the only time there's a laser is to cut a cable of a thing to rescue.
Remember that episode
International Rescue.
Remember that episode where they bring back power to Puerto Rico? That was pretty amazing. Yeah,
that's true.
Which Thunderbird was that?
Where are they now?
Thunderbird 7.
I just want to point out one thing. Now,
go for it.
I was a fan of Dorothy Hamill and her ice skate, and because I think it's easy for someone to throw out. Oh, Dorothy Hamill. You know, her hair.
This is the monster therapy episode. It really is.
No, I just want to point out that was a very particular, special haircut, James.
You're right, Larry.
And I think
I stand corrected. That was a very particular haircut, and I'm not saying that Luke Skywalker had that specific haircut, but the styles of that movie were of the 70s, and there's
the hairstyles.
As futuristic and otherworldly as Lucas tried to make it, you can still more or less tell.
Okay, James, what girl in her
get away from him.
What girl in her right mind had two giant buns on the side of her head, huh?
No,
Hair buns.
That was groundhog. groundbreaking. You know,
yes. But what you're saying is that
you need a restraining order in between the space.
No,
back off a little bit.
But you're saying that
it was groundbreaking unless you were in Germany for a century. Where it's commonplace.
I actually didn't mind.
St. Pauli Jedi.
Do we not remember Grand Moff Tarkin? Peter.
He had a great haircut.
I'm just saying. It didn't look like the 70s to me. See, and unlike I just want to say, because I know
Alec Guinness's feathered hair in that.
Alec Guinness doesn't have feathered hair.
Larry, we're going to save this for our haircuts episode.
Okay, where we can bring up Megaforce, right?
Yes. Megaforce and Dorothy Hamill.
Megaforce!
And spandex, right?
Megaforce.
That's a running gag now.
They blew up a real helicopter for that. That was like the most expensive part of it.
God.
And
an old Air Force, the flying banana.
And there's a flying motorcycle in that movie, too.
I know.
Yeah.
The movie's insane.
That's right. I'm a happy mercenary.
Dressed
like a dancer.
In spandex.
Oh, I'm just saying is when you throw out something like, the hair looks like, trying to make it funny. It's like, well,
rein me in, Larry.
No, we're talking about antiquated futures. And so the idea, that's a common thing in those movies. Let's go to Logan's Run.
Oh, yeah.
Great
Logan's Run is the quintessential example of 70s everything everywhere.
The future.
But it's the future.
Yeah, the future is society lives in a shopping mall. It's like a disco shopping mall.
Right. It is literally a shopping mall in Texas.
And there's like free love. You can like choose in, your mate for the evening. And
there's like a Chuck E. Cheese for kids and like Chuck E. Jizz for the adults.
It is a better
Pick the kids back up.
Better example of being stuck in the 70s.
Okay, now I would agree with you on that.
Yes.
However, it does have a certain flair. It has with all the feathered hair and stuff, it is a really cool.
Yeah,
I will agree with you on this, Larry, and that is to this day because I grew up in the 70s, and so when I see that kind of feathered hair, it goes right to my junk. Like I am like it's seriously like I am. But to this day, when I see Jenny Agutter,
like Farrah Fawcett,
and those hairstyles,
totally.
I immediately just go, oh man,
I'd like to live in that dome city.
I'm back in the 9th grade.
Chicka wow.
and also just those outfits. It's funny. Who was it that said something about those outfits are so 70s? But Jenny Agutters' outfit, and we've talked about it on other shows.
There's not much of an outfit.
Well, there's two of them.
That's what makes it great.
That's right. There's two.
And the first one, when I saw that, I was like, I didn't know that life could be this good. But Jenny Agutter's wearing that thing like when she comes, when Logan gets her off the circuit, which is something that actually did come true.
Oh my God, we have to talk about that.
What?
Tinder.
Okay,
that's true.
Explain the scene. Explain the scene in Logan's Run.
So Logan is he's in his apartment
and he's feeling frisky. Hey,
feeling a little frisky, wants some company, so he goes onto the circuit.
All right,
and the circuit
it's an internet.
And an internet, it's like
kind of
mixed with the transporter.
Yes.
So all of a sudden, a person can transport into your room, and they put themselves on the circuit because they're looking for a good time.
Yeah.
And so instead of where you would on Tinder look through a bunch of pictures or whatever profiles, the person's actually there in your room.
Chase,
yeah. And so the first time it's a guy. And he's like, no, sorry, not into that. But it seemed like there was no judgment or anything.
It was very free, open society.
He's like, okay, no, thank you.
75? 76.
76.
Yeah. So then he tries again, and he gets Jessica. Yeah. And Jessica is wearing this great costume that's sort of like split on the sides.
It's completely open on the sides.
And it's so sexy. But when I think about that scene, that was the concept for Tinder.
Absolutely.
Yeah, true.
And way ahead of its time.
Wow.
So, yeah, for as silly as that movie can be, what a crazy concept that actually came true.
You know what's weird when you say
Zardoz type outfits.
Oh, don't even get me started on Zardoz.
Yeah.
I just watched that, by the way, guys. Like
again
2 nights ago.
I've watched it many times. I
love it every time I see it.
Great.
And you know what I did? I went on
Tinder.
I went on Tinder.
Trying to find that Sean Connery
Looking for Sean Connery exterminator type. Must provide own Zardoz mask.
You know what? I just not to get off the subject, Matt. Stick with this, but I just figured out your next Comic-Con outfit. There you go.
Oh, I gotta work on the pounds for that one.
Yeah, with the Fu Manchu.
The mustache, but to pull off the diaper.
Ponytail.
Yeah, the red.
You gotta
red Kali diaper.
Yeah. But I watched that movie and I love it every single time. And I even went on the internet to see, like, I Googled Zardoz is a good movie. And I couldn't find it. like people just bag on that movie so much.
It's a great movie.
And what I don't understand is that, okay, yeah, it's dated. Some things are silly, but when you think about those effects and everything, nothing was CGI.
Right.
Yeah.
There was
It's all
very
practical.
it was practical to the point of not
Forced-
even lasers or anything.
Forced perspective for the last shot with the model of the head, right?
Which works
Yeah.
really well.
Yeah.
The world they created actually is very believable.
It feels real.
Any movie, like we always say, like, Blade Runner is another movie that just, like, it perfectly captures the universe. It works so well within itself, and that can be in a lot of different ways. And I think Zardoz is like that too. I totally buy it for what it is.
Yeah, people make fun of the costumes of the Eternals and how it's all kind of like
Charlotte Rampling.
Can make fun of she's awesome.
But they're all wearing kind of weird, almost disco-y, not disco, but like
not really, just
hippie-ish.
Like, yeah, it is.
Hippie-ish.
Kinda
It was like a psychic commune of the
Yeah.
future.
Yeah.
But what's great is that they really did create this really unique original world. And to me, is a movie that doesn't age for me because it is an alternative future.
Okay, let me just ask you something though, just because you're saying, well, what they got right, what they got wrong. In that world, the giant head spews out these guns.
Yes.
Right.
Now the guns, the technology for those guns are not futuristic exactly.
Well, no, because they're left over from the
Enfields.
primitive outskirts. They still use the guns.
Well, and the primitive outskirts is like everybody else. It's like the
Right.
riffraff. It's they call it the brutals, and they're just everybody else.
That's Connery's from the Brutals.
Right.
Zed
But
is from
Zed
the
is, and he was picked out of the Brutals to be one of the exterminators, and he's one of the few people that are allowed to occasionally have sex because they give him Zardoz. I love this scene in Zardoz where Zardoz shows up, the big giant head floats up, gives him all the guns, and then starts giving him this speech about the penis is evil. And I'm watching the movie. I'm just going, I know. I know. Zardoz, you don't have to tell me.
Zardoz.
Stop, will you?
Silly goose.
Now, I understand that these Eternals got to a place where they, through all their abilities, they're able to maybe regenerate themselves and the psychic abilities, but getting that head to float, I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
true.
that
was an
talk
engineering
about
feat.
That's quite a task to get that giant head to float around. Explain it, Rick Overton. Justify this.
Well, if we're not going to timestamp it, let me just say in general, there's a few celebrities who get their big heads to float around. New topic. No,
Wow, that could have been like a Variety review from 1978.
One-man show.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. There's a good amount of talent. Well, I mean, I love Charlotte Rampling, but
Of course.
But yeah, I mean, that's one that fits in the alternate future. Now, here's another future that when they do this, most of the time at least, I think, they get away with not seeming silly later on. And that is when you do post-apocalyptic future. Now, when you do that, most of the time you're going to be okay, I think, because desolation, destruction, burned out buildings.
You're going to be funny about it. Can your dog talk?
Well, and that's one of my favorites, and that's one that holds up.
Yeah,
because
with the rosy makeup in this little town.
boy and his dog.
Man, and I mean, they kind of hit the head of the satire on that pretty hard in that movie. But I love it.
Those are bolder times. Those are easy rider times.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
You had to hit it.
Sure.
Later there was room for nuance.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
But I love that movie, and I love all the concepts in that. And when you read the book. When you read the original novella, it kind of fills in some of the gaps of that movie. But the idea that the dogs can talk to the dogs, and
Was that Harlan Ellison?
Harlan Ellison, yeah. And even the underground bunker that is the,
and look
white...
who borrowed all that stuff.
Well, everybody, right?
Apes borrowed the blanched the tunnel people, and
but Apes was before, though, right?
Beneath the Planet of the Apes was before Boy and the Dog.
It was before the Boy and the Dog.
Yeah.
Oh, so they borrowed it from them.
It's a different...
And they're all taking it from Wells.
In what sense?
The Morlocks.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
They're all blanched out, horrible monster, but they're all blanched.
Subterranean.
What I love in the Harlan Ellison in Boy and His Dog is the fact that they're white.
Yeah.
This is the white man's paradise. I mean, to the point where you're actually wearing whiteface.
right.
Yeah.
They believed themselves to be the inheritors of what was left. That was
Sure.
supposed to be to get rid of all the other inconvenient nationalities.
Sure. Keeping everything the way it should be.
And look how horrible the winners were.
White, rigid, religious, authoritarian.
Right.
Today.
Sound.
Where does I get that idea from?
Are you mean the Philadelphia Experiment 2 was real? They warped through and redid everything? Bastards.
They keep doing it, too, I think. I feel the glitches.
Oh, you see the glitches?
Every once in a while.
The cat reappears in the hallway?
Yeah. Yeah. Where's that book? It's gone. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, right.
Or is that just being in my 50s?
But for the post-apocalyptic stuff, I mean, it's true. Whenever you've got a futuristic vision and you scale it down to the bare minimum, you can't screw it up because there's nothing. You're not risking that much.
Right.
And I'm thinking also Sleeper, Woody Allen's movie.
Oh yeah,
where
I like that depiction of the future.
Yeah, it's very streamlined, minimalistic.
Yeah. But he gets it across really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that when you're dealing with comedy, you get a little bit more leeway too.
Sure.
I would say with Sleeper, when you've got them all hanging around the orb, that feels very much of a time.
Or even Fifth Element.
Well, you know what? There is a scene that it's kind of funny, but it's like this has been seen in other films, and it's the giant food.
The giant celery that Woody sees.
The giant banana,
chicken.
And if you remember, the giant chicken, like in the film Tarantula, what the whole point that this guy was trying to do was, okay, let's make an animal larger. So instead of
for food,
so it's like you can feed more of the planet.
Leo G. Carroll.
Exactly.
Was that also Mysterious Island too? Was that the point?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Exactly. No, you're right because the giant crab, the giant crab and the giant bee making all the honey. The whole idea was if we could make these animals slightly larger, that means there would be more food for more people.
Now, it's the only island out of anywhere where there's these giant animals appearing.
Yeah.
You can't go to another island anywhere in the tropics you can get, so heat doesn't make that. I think it's radiation from the wrecked Nautilus that made that.
Well,
that's an interesting theory.
If you remember, I mean, the Nautilus was still functional. And
it was,
yes,
stranded.
No, but he was old. He was the only guy. Nemo was the only. He can't operate that ship all by himself.
But wasn't it? Didn't the animals get bigger due to Captain Nemo's experiments?
Yeah, that's what I. Yeah,
so
I was wondering if he was using radiation.
Well,
it could be.
See, I'm not.
Was the 50s way to make big stuff?
Yeah, but I'm not sure it was
true.
made very clear as to how. But it was the experiments that made these creatures.
We knew he was doing something.
Okay, so what you're saying is we didn't know it was radiation. So gee, that crab looks great. Let's cut into that crab. Tasty crab. But then you realize, oh my God, I've eaten radioactive crab.
Well, that was the day, as I pointed out, where people would just eat anything.
But you know what's neat? What's neat is I remember a group of friends and I, we had a 16mm print of Mysterious Island, and we went out and got a bunch of crab, and put it in a giant pot, and we all ate crab as we were watching the movie. And when that scene came up, it was like, oh, this was so cool.
But isn't that what you feel every time you see that scene of imagine being there?
When I see that scene, I am desperate for crab. I want or a shrimp cocktail or something. I go, I don't want tuna. I want crab.
But Rick, you point out a good point. That's true. Like the 50s, the most popular side effect of radiation for some reason is to make things get big.
Yeah, your ex-wife.
Not to kill them or not to. Yeah. Why does it make them get big? That was the logical thing to do.
The amazing colossal man.
Yeah.
I mean,
the guy with part of the face. Yeah.
It doesn't obliterate him. It just makes him giant.
Right.
Yeah.
Not to
shrink, or you shrink.
Or shrink. That's true.
Right.
Certainly not to poke fun at a nuclear disaster, say like Nagasaki or Hiroshima.
No.
But according to that science fiction logic, then that would have been
Godzilla.
But what about all the people? Anybody who was irradiated would have become giant.
That's true. That's true.
And gotten some serious payback, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
There's your movie.
Yeah, I want to see that
Everyone that
movie.
gets rated, the plan is just giant, it's huge, and everyone's to have some of them that they suffocate from going out of the atmosphere with their heads.
Duck.
Or the other thing is, it's like what you're suggesting is as you grow big, it's like your mind stays though, like you still have the cognitive thought. You think like you always do, but the issue is as you grow big and your brain grows big, you start to lose. You would lose this cognitive thought, so you turn into kind of like this mindless, crazy mad person.
Yeah, I would think
has the presence of mind to cover his junk with a giant cloth of some sort.
Oh, the amazing colossal man.
That's true.
Is there no reason, but hey, my dick is oh no.
That's true.
My face is gone, but they can see my balls.
Especially if it was small.
It's normal sized.
Because
it's regular sized.
Because even if you're a giant, just by proportion, you go, oh, I know that's a giant cock, but it's actually really small.
Yeah. That'd be big for a normal person like me, but on you.
Yeah.
Okay, there's one piece of apparatus or technology from an old film that I always thought was really cool, and that was from This Island Earth.
It's on my list.
The Interocitor.
The Interocitor.
Look, they even showed that they were trying to get Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
But you see,
it's really cool because like who's Rex Reason is like
and Jeff Morrow.
He sent all this this mysterious equipment. You know, he's a scientist in his lab, and he's sent this stuff.
Exeter.
And like it's like, oh, what is this? It's like there's no like return address on this package. It's just build this thing.
Yes.
And
It's a test, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's so cool.
It's like
so
Last
cool.
Gunfighter.
Yeah.
I love that movie, but what's great about it is if you watch the film, it's a beautiful Technicolor. The Interocitor, the communication device, it's not what you would think like your TV screen. It's shaped like a giant triangle, which seems a bit odd in a way. But the interesting thing is it's not only a communication device, but it also has the ability to, it has like little lasers or something.
Right.
It can be used as a communication device, but also as a weapon.
Stand aside, please.
Stand aside, please.
Yeah.
Stand aside. A little further.
But I just love it because he's basically building like a television receiver kind of to talk to Exeter on Metaluna.
And what's cool about it is when you look at the film, it has, again, the technology of the day where there's giant tubes.
Yeah, there's like generators and
like in a TV from the 50s.
Like Tesla coils
like little wires and copper, and it's so cool. There's no transistors or anything.
But you could argue that what Exeter was doing is going, here, make this with the
technology
tools
of the day
that you have.
Absolutely.
Right,
But Sean, we've talked about this before. I would love to have my own Interocitor.
Why doesn't somebody make a real life-sized Interocitor?
Well, here's my thing.
Make a TV that's actually.
But
like,
you have to make that
Interocitor.
triangle. That's the thing that gets me.
Easy.
Well,
That'd be
you
cool.
say it's easy, but I love. I'm a sucker for blinky lights. You know, when he turns the knob and you have the little pink and red, blue,
cool.
like. I love it.
I do love light up things.
Yes.
How does Kronos walk forward?
Oh,
I love that movie.
He stomps up and down. There is no articulation of the leg. He can just look like an infant going boom, boom, back and forth.
Okay, now
I think the
Move
first step,
forward.
wouldn't you just fall over?
Rick, wait.
Maybe
There's no hinged anything.
maybe there's hovering technology in there too, though.
Rick just brought up a character from a different movie.
Though.
Called Kronos, and Larry, give us a little blurb.
It looks like a refrigerator.
Yeah, it's like a giant. I want to say robot.
It's a robot.
It is a robot.
But
But
it's
it's-
alien civilization to kind of like suck up all our power on Earth.
But the weird thing
resources.
is, it doesn't look like the Lost in Space robot or
No,
Robbie the
it's-
robot. Like that has like little arms and legs. It's not. It's
like
more
a big monolith.
It's like almost like blocks, almost with a giant. Kind
It
of,
looks a little. Wow. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
it
pretty
sounds
good.
like
Yeah,
that.
that's it. I
That's
love that
good.
movie.
Wow, that's
And that sound got used the fuck out of for other projects. A lot of the original sounds just go to the warehouse, grab the
That's
sound.
true.
But
Rick.
That's
Rick,
true.
you have to do a Kronos one-man show.
Yeah, but what Rick brings,
Stomping mad.
what Rick brings up about this robot, if you look at other robots, like first of all, the Lost Space robot, he has it's like wheels.
Well,
Robbie the robot has legs.
Or it's humanoid looking.
But Kronos, it's almost like it's like these pistons that go up and down,
there's
and
no
I know
forward,
there's no forward.
motivator.
That is true. That is true. Like maybe there's some other kind of technology we don't understand.
Yes,
because-
and Rick, that's it. We don't understand it. We don't
Thank
understand.
God we don't understand it. I can enjoy it as long as I don't understand
It's like the technology is so advanced. It's like it makes your mind go, oh my God, I mean, it just explodes.
It's so advanced.
My mind did that. I just immediately start looking for where the zipper is.
It's so advanced it doesn't work.
but
I think Sean
full
the
circle and it's
design.
primitive again.
Yeah, but I think the design for something that's supposed to just be like massing across the landscape, sucking up energy, it works.
It went
I mean,
for the-
It's cool. It looks cool.
California and Mexican borders
Yeah.
power stations, right?
Yeah,
It reminds me a little bit of a giant version of Nomad from Star Trek.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dome
It
in the
does.
middle and the two thingies sticking out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Nomad floated around.
James
Floated,
Roy Clark.
yes.
Yeah, but if we're talking about large size robots, there's one. It's a movie that it's kind of cool, but in a way seems kind of practical. It's more advanced. It's not like classic 50s. It's Pacific Rim from 2014.
Oh, sure.
And so here you have. And it's a weird concept. So these giant kaiju, giant monsters are appearing, and
portholing in.
How do you attack these monsters? Like, don't use a missile. Let's build these giant robots, and you put two guys in the helmet, basically, and basically you're offering the left brain, right brain kind of thing to fight these.
What?
But what gets me is it's like the technology and the cost to do that just seems so astronomical. It's like, dude, you can't just
is it
come up.
practical?
Yeah, I mean, it looks cool, and I love it as a robot guy.
To me, that movie is a Transformer movie that works.
Yeah.
Because it's also trying to Pacific Rim. What a lot of people miss with that movie is that it is very much satirizing, parroting a classic Japanese melodrama, an anime story. And does it very well. Mecha,
yeah, and it is so cool to see these giant robotic. And actually, they're not really robots because it's a machine that's controlled by humans.
Like power suits.
Yeah,
Imagine a giant Ripley power suit.
Yeah, and to battle these giant monsters, the monsters look cool and it's fun. It is fun, but in a way, it seems like it's very impractical.
Kind of ridiculous.
Can't use kind of missiles,
it's
but
anyway,
but it's still
cool
fun.
way,
Yeah, can we do this?
UAVs now.
Yeah. Well, can't I be in another room, a safe room, controlling this thing?
Right,
Not
that's
if
true.
you want an audience to come into that room and watch a movie. You don't. You better have
That's
humans
true.
in danger, man.
Yeah.
If you're a screenwriter, you're going, no.
That's like
no fun in the safety.
That's like in the Iron Man movies. I mean, Stark can just stay at home or have coffee in his.
Well, that's where I kind of check out in those movies.
And send the whole suit by itself. Yeah, I kind of don't like that.
What was it? Was that 3 where all of a sudden all the empty suits are there?
Yeah,
and I was done.
On and off.
Yeah, no,
yeah, it's like that's kind of like I don't like.
Well,
that.
it kind of brings up an interesting concept about in this day and age, you have people who are so into computer games, and it's like I could sit on my sofa and continue to eat pizza and weigh about 450 pounds, but I'm great at a video game, and so now I don't have to go out and do push-ups and join the military. Now I can still sit on my couch, and if I have my little controller, I could take a robotic creature or character or whatever that operates guns and stuff, and I can control it because I'm a great computer game guy and actually make these
and
things.
we have guys now that do that with operate
with
drones and
But
now if there was some sort of thing like the one video game that I think I'm pretty good at, because I'm not a gamer really.
Pac-Man.
Pong.
No, I'm terrible at Pong.
Frogger.
No, Tetris. Tetris. Okay. So if there was
For
some
those old school people.
Yeah, it's sad. I realize. So it's Tetris. So if there's some sort of thing to fight aliens where I can build a block of things around them quickly,
You would be the best.
I'd be the guy, man. Come to me. What? Oh my God! We need to build a wall.
Weinhold. Whatever your price, we need you.
That's so sad.
Level 7,000.
Okay, how about this? This is something that seemed to be always around, like in the 60s and 70s. Jetpacks. Why aren't there jetpacks?
We got
are there jetpacks?
Now there are.
Now there are because I never saw them.
There's an Iron Man thing with those model airplane jet engines.
Yeah.
But is it like just a guy?
And he put them on at the ends of his arms and on his feet,
Really?
and he flies like Iron Man.
Yeah,
now.
but Rick is making it sound like, they're on every street corner.
No,
come on. He never said that once.
That guy's doing a prototype. A guy's prototyping it, and he's doing it now. And the one that is starting to show up everywhere is the winged flight suit.
Oh, okay.
Where the guy jumps out of a plane and clacks, these two engines start up.
Really?
And it goes,
It's like a glider kind of thing?
And you pop a chute, you down.
Jeez.
Hey, remember the one that we see this one in all kinds of movies, even like the Reluctant Astronaut. What was that? You know that one that's like a power pack jet thing? It wouldn't last very long, but it was around in the 60s. Powered. Is that what it was?
Well, there was one there's a platform that you stand on above.
Oh, okay.
And it hovered from below, and it would hoist you up in the air.
Okay.
And you had to trust that it will always just stay facing upward and right the whole time. There's one that had like a chair. There was one that was the jetpack. There's video of them doing a thing with fake lasers, and doing fake graphics of a NASA like a weapons sales tool for the early Bell Pack.
Wow.
Wasn't there James Bond? Was there a James Bond film with
Diamonds are
Thunderball?
Was it Thunderball? Or Diamonds Are Forever?
Well, what's that one?
Was that a real
That's a
jetpack?
Bell.
Though,
That's the real Bell Pack. I saw it live.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
As a kid, I saw it.
And then in You Only Live Twice, he brought in a gyrocopter.
I remember that too, but I mean, like the jet, we just like the Rocketeer. You know, like you like Commando Cody, you strap it on, you just fly.
Rocketeer. I'm in the Rocketeer.
He is in the Rocketeer.
Oh,
Are you in the
gosh,
Rocketeer?
awesome.
Yeah.
Do your line.
It's the Rocketeer.
Nice.
I'm on the ballroom floor.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. It's
Well,
great.
I'm going to have to get the Blu-ray, and I'm going to
Yes,
check
you are.
that out.
Yes, you
But
are.
see, but that's the thing. Like that was such a futuristic thing, and you saw that in like in movies and TV shows, and like
Commander Cody.
Commando Cody. Yeah.
And you can see him. He would set the dial for
Up or down.
Fly.
Up or down for fly. Turn the dial.
Yeah.
And
Like
it
we
had
should all have
that,
jetpacks.
Look like a knight's helmet a little
Yeah,
bit.
it was,
So
oh,
I
it's
can
really
see
cool
that.
design.
We have a cool
Bullet, the
12-inch
bullet.
figure of Commando Cody.
Yeah, I love
it's
that.
awesome.
I love that.
But
But when it comes to the jetpack, you know, when you watch Jackass and they try to replicate something like that, to me, that's what really would happen. Like, you know what I mean?
And you had the guy on skates from that
Sure,
black and
right.
white footage.
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
his
yeah.
ass is on fire. They're throwing snow on his
Right,
ass.
That's right, that's
exactly. That's what I see. And when I go to Star Trek once again, and we talked about this before, but I do think it's so funny. It's the one thing immediately in Star Trek 5, the Shatner one.
Oh yeah,
that
yeah.
put me out was the rocket boots.
Right.
Spock in the rocket
'cause
boots.
That's the
Especially-
one place you don't put them.
That's the one place
Yeah,
you don't
yeah.
put them.
No,
Right.
you put them on above
true.
your waist.
Yeah,
or
all
your
I-
center of balance just invert.
Yeah.
All I-
Roar
Yeah.
into the ground.
Yeah.
All I see is just some. If it manages to, it's an anti-grav or whatever. All I see is boots upside down, pulling Spock behind them.
Right.
Well, yeah, especially in that movie when Kirk he slips off the mountain, and then Spock kind of like goes down. And
Yeah.
he like somehow
Oh.
turns.
And there's another
and
one.
He dives. It
All
doesn't
the
make any
science
sense.
fiction films that have a spaceship that's pulling up to the station with its main engines and shuts off just as it docks.
Right.
Are you
right.
fucking kidding me? You're running your main engines into the station?
That's
You're
true.
not directional jetting it in?
That's true.
That's the thing that makes you go fast. You can't you can't get anywhere near
Rick,
Right,
culture
that's
with
true.
stuff.
Rick, cowboys,
Yeah. Right. Hot rod cowboys.
hot show-offs. You know. Well, that's the other thing too about I love in. And these are kind of more recent movies, but some older ones where it's the giant spaceship going over the city and it's slowly lowering and it's a huge spaceship like ID4 kind of thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what people don't realize is that he doesn't have to fire anything. The air pressure is crushing everything under it.
Oh my gosh! I didn't
Yeah,
realize.
you don't
that.
have to shoot anything. You've just wiped out the entire
Oh,
town
yeah.
by just showing up.
Oh, and by the way, when you're shooting at it with your jets, guess what happens when you win?
What?
It comes down. That's your victory.
That's true.
Yeah, and they always
Okay,
manage to
so-
make them like land in the water. You know, like they.
Yeah, right. Like into the Washington Monument.
Right.
It's sound waves. It's kids rock and roll. They can't take rock and roll.
Beat poetry.
Hey, Johnny, I'm sorry I talked to you like you're a deadbeat idiot the whole time, but now we need you. We need you to save Earth. It's up to you, Johnny, and your guitar.
Rick, this sounds like actually a great movie.
Yeah, I do want to see
Mars
this movie.
Attacks kind of did Slim Whitman as the angle there.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
you know, but
It was
always
actually
the
one of the
angle.
better parts of that movie.
Yeah,
was that joke.
Yeah.
One of the jokes that worked. I felt.
Yeah. One of the few.
I agree. Yeah. Well, okay. How about this one then? And this is one that I think we've all been waiting for. And this is one that has been in movies, God, it's as far back as I can remember. Maybe not in like Metropolis or anything like that, but The Force Field.
Yeah.
The Force Field. We've seen it in Star Trek. We've seen
my
it
God, we've
Flash
seen
all,
Gordon,
all
I
over the
think.
place.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's got to be some kind of technology now, right? I mean,
Armored vehicles can put out a magnetic concussion wave that hopefully detonates an incoming weapon.
Well, how about these things that you've seen? Like it creates like almost like a wall of heat. And it's like kind of
they put them on protesters at Occupy. They aim it at them, and at native protesters.
Yeah, and you walk too close, and all of a sudden you feel like you're on fire.
You're on fire because it's microwaving you.
Yeah,
the water in your blood is boiling.
Yeah,
jeez.
And so
because that's a legitimate thing to use on your own civilian.
Oh, of course, yeah,
population.
Right, sure. Well, American made.
but the idea of like a physical, like a thing that becomes almost like a
wall of glass,
like where like a missile
it's like you're walking.
But that's the thing that we haven't got to, which is the idea of that. Like I once again, I go to Zardoz. The one thing that's keeping the Eternals safe from the Brutals is this force field, and there's a scene where Sean Connery gets to the edge of it. And you've seen this scene in a number of movies where he puts his face up against it. And he's like, his nose is flattening out, like that kind of.
The camera just keeps the edge of the piece of glass.
Sure, right. And I imagine like the fucking Windex that they got to do every shot.
Everyone back to one.
Squeaky, 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 squeaky. I see fingerprints. You're fired.
Yes, it's 6 o'clock. Where's my glass of water? Where's my huge glass of no ice water?
There's a force field in front of my sobriety.
Sean, you got another one there besides
I got one, a specific thing that I just always cracks me up over this one movie. This is a movie called 12 to the Moon. From 1960. Oh. It's a cheap little.
I almost watched this the other night.
To the Moon. It's like it's like an international crew. So it's like 12 different astronauts, all from different countries, go to the moon. There's alien life there, and they get into trouble. But it's another one of those movies where like it uses like suits and things from other movies. So the spacesuits from this movie,
George Powell,
maybe
standing with the big ringy things around all the joints,
puffy rings.
Yeah, right. The Jetsons.
No, it wasn't the puffy rings, but just helmets look maybe from Destination Moon or something. Definitely from some other movie
with the sort of ringed cuff meeting the helmet from the zipper suit.
But the funny thing is that maybe it was like a budget.
I know that thing is.
Men's Warehouse.
But maybe it was a budget thing, or they didn't notice it until they were shooting. But the helmets have literally no visor.
No visor because they fog up because because you're sweating your balls off in that.
Yeah, and probably the sound production for this movie was so cheap. So there's nothing. So there's this hilarious moment where they're about to go out onto the moon surface for the first time, and they're putting on their suits, and one guy grabs
it this way.
No, he turns this little knob on the side of the helmet. And goes, I'm turning on my invisible electromagnetic ray screen now.
That is such a looped later line.
And it's like,
you know what though?
At least they like took the.
They tried.
I give them credit for at least addressing the problem.
Script supervisor leans to the director. What?
Shit.
Oh shit! Hold on, we gotta have a meeting here.
A young Bob Burns will write us a letter.
So it's funny because like so basically throughout the rest of the movie you just buy that there's like this invisible shields over their helmets.
But that's really better than having an actor like fake wipe his screen and then make the sound like.
But there's another movie. There's another movie with called Mission Mars with Darren McGavin and I think Nick Adams.
Wow,
pretty obscure Mars movie, but. That movie, they have the glass over, but there's obvious huge gaps between the glass visor.
That
and the
drives me crazy.
It's like, what the hell? It's so obvious.
Sometimes they would use Air Force stuff. There was a kind of early F-104 type helmet that had a oval shaped face mask on it, but you look underneath, it gaps out. But it just sort of has that early. Air Force jacket nylon material going down.
Was it Beyond the Time Barrier that has like a flight suit?
That's another one. Yeah, that's kind of what the suits,
pressure suit basically.
That's kind of what the ones in 12 to the Moon look like too. But yeah, it's like Mission Mars is like what the hell? I mean, you just can't get past it. They're supposed to be deep space outfits.
Well, no, and this is one that gets me. That is, I think. I saw it more in movies that are a little more modern than in older films, and that is the whole someone without a suit or
can
half
make
a suit
in a couple of seconds
in the vacuum of space, which is
cure delay.
Yeah, or Aliens, and this is the thing that I love that movie. But when
the suction out the door, that you could hold on with your arm to the pressure that's blowing out the entire.
Not to mention, boy, that must be one huge fucking ship because of all the air that's coming out,
and it resupplies
and it just keeps coming and coming and coming and coming.
And who's leaving all those newspapers and shit? How dirty fucking ship it is. You know?
And just porn after porn after porn.
Dixie cups.
Oh, they're astronauts.
Folding chair. You pigs.
Chickens.
Like Monty Python. You know, cows run away.
False teeth.
Be hilarious.
Giveaway signs.
Piano.
Yeah, that kind of drove me crazy. And there was a number of movies where
The deep compressed way too long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the whole airlock idea, too. That's so simple to go into an airlock and get stuck. And
so let's just, if we could be Mr. Science for a second. Let's just say, if that were to happen, where you unlocked the door to outer space, the suction you would be blasted out.
Your arm couldn't hold on to a rung of a ladder.
Yeah, your arm would be ripped off.
They'd find your arm.
Yeah, and you'd be immediately just dead, right? Like within seconds, you'd be, or maybe
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, you're Mr. Science.
The only one I think you could have gotten away with briefly was on Mars with Schwarzenegger.
I was going to say that, because
that's the only decompression one where
that scene is
but
ridiculous.
those eyes,
Where the eyes?
those eyes. I don't think you go back from that.
Okay,
They should have had the rest of the movie. I'm permanently like this. Look at my eyes.
It's like it's like a Tex Avery. It's like a Tex Avery cartoon.
Okay,
They're
look,
sticking out and they survived.
for the
It's
listeners-
ridiculous.
Yeah,
The listener-
I'm eternally looking like I'm checking out Little Red Riding Hood, the sexy one.
Okay, so
I'm Adi Feldman.
for our listeners, this is the Academy Award-winning motion picture. Do you remember that? It won an Academy
Effects.
for special effects. And just to let you know,
Total Recall?
yeah.
Verhoeven.
Not only that,
Oh,
it was
that's sad.
dude. It was the only nominee, and it's like, the weird thing is, a couple of years before that, they would actually have multiple nominees, but for that year, there was no one.
Really?
And so
That's
they were
hilarious.
nominated knowing that they were going to win.
That's ridiculous.
But in Total Recall, there's a scene where Schwarzenegger and the girl are
Maria
shot out into
Conchita-Alonso?
the
The
atmosphere.
The surface of Mars.
And so there isn't as much atmosphere out there, but there's a little. And so what happens is they're
slowly decompressing,
and
right?
so
or
you're
compressing. I
So
forget how it
supposedly your
goes.
eyes
Really
that are kind of
slowly.
loose,
Like it goes on
start
forever.
to
Yeah.
kind of pop out.
Their
a little
eyes
bit.
pop out like someone blowing super elastic bubble plastic.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's like
Large Marge in the truck. You know?
And
and
what
then there's no way that that's coming back.
So
yeah.
what
No,
hap-
you don't snap
Yeah, you've
back.
got eye tits now.
so basically what happens is happening, an atmosphere is created on the entire planet, which seems ridiculous in a way, but it's kind of fun.
I like the movie. The movie's a lot of fun, but
I think
that's
I
the
think
most
it's
ridiculous.
I think it's garbage.
really.
That movie blows.
I find it entertaining. It's ridiculous.
There's 3
for
minutes
sure.
of concept that's kind of
it's-
Schwarzenegger. Everything about it
But
is
that's
just
what makes it fun, though.
It
It's
was
so
fun,
crazy.
and
It's so goofy.
dude, at the time,
horrible.
You say that now, looking back, and you're,
I hated it when it came out.
No, you're
Really?
Mr.
I
20.
did.
You're Mr. 2017 now. I mean, by the
Yeah,
time,
that's what I am.
Yes, and at
it's
the
on
time,
the side of my van.
at the time, Matt. At the time, look, it was state of the art. There was a lot of practical effects,
But I've seen
I
other
thought the eye-
movies.
I thought the
They were
eye thing
good.
was kind of neat.
Did you like
it
the
was
part-
real fun.
Did you like-
Whoa, Sean. Whoa. You thought the eye thing was neat?
Yeah, I thought it was kind of
Oh,
neat.
I thought it was
neat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
I can't think it was neat. I didn't say it was like.
Well, dude,
I
kids
like
just-
when you have to remove a techno booger from your nose.
Yeah, really. And there's like this fake.
Aye. Aye. Like the guy. Just to jump back to another Schwarzenegger thing,
Please.
a little glitch in the Terminator. I think it was 2 or 3 when he's under the truck working on it. He's going.
yeah, right.
The robot doesn't grunt when he's working the wrench.
Right.
Let me just get a hold of this here.
Let me put on my exertion sounds.
Yeah, it's T2 when he's fixing. He's like, yeah.
It's to make everybody else comfortable.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like on Aliens,
Now, explain.
the synthetic on Aliens.
what he did to make them
eating.
feel.
He's eating. That
oh, he's
stuff.
eating.
Right.
That's right. That's right. That's what it is. Yeah.
Just artificially just sticking it just drops out his ass. Like it's unchewed. You know.
It's just in a little tiny garbage can that he opens his chest.
Yeah. Sold back to the humans again.
In a little tiny glad bag. You just empty it out. Feed it to the cat. Yeah. Oh no! Not more Bishop food. Morris, don't be so finicky. I can't believe I'm eating android food again.
Remember the first time you saw him?
Bishop?
Lance was face in Close Encounters.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
He's a federal agent
that's
there.
right.
He has the revolver, but once he goes there, he's not a bad. He's like, whoa, just like anybody else. It's this new experience.
Yeah.
You know, one of my, of course, to digress a little bit, one of my favorite Lance Henriksen movies ever is Near Dark.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's great in that.
Yeah, he is so
Great movie.
likable and scary at the same time.
Yeah.
Super
That's great.
duper.
Yeah. And then
do no wrong.
what's great is about that movie too is you got kind of like this aliens reunion.
Yeah,
'Cause it's
totally.
got everybody.
Yeah, Bill Paxton.
Yeah.
Love it.
All right, we got any more?
Jules Verne, the idea of getting you into space with a cannon round.
That's beautiful.
That's
Like your
true.
spine could
That's-
withstand
Yeah,
that.
and all the
you would
others-
look like Steve Austin would really look if he lifted a bus.
Right.
Because his
right.
spine isn't bionic. That would just fold like
well,
Daffy
that's a
Duck.
great example too.
Yeah.
The whole $6 million man bionic thing, which was, I remember, this is, my brother's pretty smart, when we were kids, and that was airing for the first time, that's what my brother said. It's like, well, what about all of his other bones?
His hips.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
What do your hips do when you're lifting a
somehow
bus?
just the one arm, 2 legs, and 1 eye got damaged when you saw that crash of that,
Yeah.
that jet. It was like, I mean, it rolled over to completely explode and was obliterated.
Yeah.
Just the 1 eye, arm, and 2 legs.
He leaned on the one side when he hit.
I guess he didn't have a scar. He didn't have a scar.
It's like a motorcycle crash. You pick a side. When you
yeah. Yeah. God, I wish that all of me would have been wrecked.
Look,
and we could have.
he was in a special flight suit, that he was wearing. So,
Right.
Okay, sure,
but
whatever.
I totally bought it. But you bring up a very
But
good
look,
point.
it's like, mate, look, I just had back surgery.
Right.
So I have a thing of titanium in there.
Right.
That doesn't mean I have a bionic spine.
and that you can lift a bus or anything.
bus.
Or maybe your back could, but your little legs.
yeah, the rest of me would give out. Yeah.
But the same thing with
Go,
the,
"My knees,
the bionic woman was even worse because it wasn't she was skydiving, she
Yeah.
was parachuting,
Yeah.
and she hurt her ear. She hurt her ear and arm.
okay,
and her leg.
okay. Now, okay.
One ear
Now,
got damaged
listen.
from the fall.
Yeah. If
Listen.
only it had been her mouth. Am I right, guys?
Hey. Okay, come on.
is everything.
Does she have
Let's not timestamp this. Come on. Come on.
Does she have a bionic arm to make coffee?
Look.
Come on.
Sean, this is my logic. No, this is my
This
logic.
is 1950s math.
No, this is the 70s. My logic was when she fell, she had the parachute accident,
Yeah.
she landed on her legs, on her arm, and then she hit her head,
Okay.
damaging
On
her
a sharp
ear.
rock.
No,
Okay.
well,
but no scars, no damage.
Well,
no
because
head
it's
injuries,
inside.
no brain injuries.
She had
just her
serious
ear.
tinnitus.
She
And they were
got-
like, no.
Like you're
no.
saying, why don't they have a metal plate in her ear? Right? That's what you're
Yeah,
saying.
or maybe her skull could have been crushed. But
Well,
no.
you bring up a good point, but I'm just saying that I bought it. I know it seems a little weird.
Yeah.
While they were doing that, did they just do the tits for free? I'm just curious.
Oh,
What
come
do you
on,
think?
Matt. Come on.
I'm
Hey,
asking a
hey,
question.
come on.
It was the 70s.
Come on. Come on. This isn't a locker room. Come on.
Yeah, and your skin. Your skin can't take lifting an airplane. Your skin would smash flat. And
Yeah,
the bones
that's
would
true.
just go straight through.
Right, you'd be just you'd be a pile of jelly,
Yeah,
basically.
even if there was an organic, if there was a metal part under all the organic material, it's just smash away.
Well,
That's-
but it's
yeah.
It looked
bionic,
like
though.
Terminator
Well,
when he
this is
takes his
great.
arm skin
yeah,
off.
right.
This is great because this is the show. That's the show I want. It's the first episode. It's
Deconstructing every
right.
fucking
it's,
thing
it's,
there
it's
is,
the
right, that
it's
we
the
were raised as
it's
innocent
the $6 million man, and then he goes out on his first mission. Everything else just fucking becomes jelly and breaks, and
right.
like so. Then cut to the next episode. It's the $12 million. So they've added a couple more things.
He's going, you're killing me here,
Yeah.
Steve.
Hey, we're not made of money, all right? Grow a backbone.
And remember, these are $1971.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And so every episode, it just gets higher and higher, the bill.
Are you fucking kidding me, Steve? Come on. Well, my other eye is watering when I'm going 75 miles an hour. That one's just a real eye.
$1 million for Trigger Finger? Really?
Well, maybe when he runs, he kind of has, he kind of closed one eye, squinted a little bit, see Lee Majors.
Okay, but
he's all streaked on one side.
Okay, hair plugs is bullshit.
All right, here's another one, though. Speaking of $6 Million Man, when they did the robots and the fembots and even the original Westworld, the idea that, the faceplate just comes off so easily, but when it's off, when they're walking around pretending to be human, they're moving their face.
All these articulate things that the team didn't have a time to make the plaster move,
When the faceplate comes off, all you see is like a couple of circuits and a voice box and eyes. How did it make it all move that whole face?
Yeah.
I do love that. That's a great thing that you see in a lot of androids of that time.
You always see it.
Yul Brynner.
Yeah, the thing is like perfect, except for you could tell by their hands because
the rigid really they couldn't get that right.
Like the easiest thing in the world. Like that's your problem.
The mannequins in the department store
can do that, right? Yeah. Like a doll that you get, as a kid can do that. But like what I love the fact is that they take the faceplate off and you'd see the mechanism inside that, especially the mouth. It would be just like this like funnel, and you think that as you're making out with this thing,
what the fuck is that? Is that a funnel?
That's a funnel? Wow. You know what? This was hot until I tasted the funnel. Oh my God, that's lead.
Wow.
Man,
you smell like Gumby plastic. You're toxic.
Oh yeah.
I remember how toxic Gumbies were. You remember those?
Were they the original Gumbies?
Tell us a tale.
It was made of this rubber that they didn't let the rubber gas out, and a Gumby opened up, and your eyes would water from this. Children should be nowhere near this chemical just gassing off it.
Really?
Like gassing off it like sunlight hitting an asteroid or a comet,
Oh my God.
I have a Gumby and a Pokey.
Don't ever open it.
Leave it in the plastic, man.
For once.
Okay.
You're right.
Okay, guys, I have to tell you.
For your own safety.
No, I've told this story before, but it's just
1970s death air.
No. I have a Gumby and Pokey that they have been removed from the package,
by law.
They were both autographed by Art Clokey. Who created the creator of Gumby? Cool. And so just
did
to let
he die not long after?
And so what happened was I had the Gumby and Pokey. I slipped them out of the plastic thing, and he signed both of them, and then they went back in. So so
never to come out again.
Well,
that's kind of a funny.
You can still smell the rubbery smell, though.
But that's kind of a funny thing, though, because we all collect all these toys, and the one thing that takes us back to that time is you take one of these things like a Color Forms Outer Spaceman and or Matt Mason and you'd open them up and you'd smell that rubber and you'd go like ooh and the rubber meant new and cool
or even a vintage,
not dirty yet.
A vintage Star Wars figure, anything that's like when the toy is made and freshly painted and it gets sealed within this blister pack and the scent of it that it's still fresh in there. Chances are like if you have, which I do, figures from the late 60s or early 70s, and if I were to open these, the smell of that fresh 1977 air.
But it's not necessarily 70s air. It's toxic air. That's the thing. That's the funny thing is that what we go is like, childhood is really death. You're going to die. It's mesothelioma.
Yeah, right. Hacking cough.
Well, at least I had some moments of pleasure when I smelled those things.
Wow. Way to round out the episode. Wow, Mr. Happy strikes again. Oh, okay.
Well,
all right.
It's like that Cabbage Patch story.
Okay. No, you know what? I ended up enjoying that way more than I ever thought I would. That was
a true story.
That really was great. Yeah. It's a snapshot into you that I will take to my grave.
I don't think I ever told that story to you guys.
I don't think so.
I would remember that.
You're like Scarface, the big stash, the addiction. America's addicted to the thing you have.
Yes, yeah.
They want it and you have it, and you're like the capo up there. Say hello to my little doll.
Yeah, I would say it's that mixed with the Stanford experiment. Yeah, he's the guy that like I got them all. Oh, you want them? You want them, little girl? You can't have them. We're gonna let the little girl have them. I'm going in the other room.
I have other Toys R Us stories, but we'll save that for another show.
I guess.
Wow. Toys R Us episode.
We might have to dedicate a whole episode.
What, to Toys R Us?
To your Toys R Us.
No, did we all have experiences at Toys R Us?
Not like you.
Well, I'm a dyslexic, so I always thought the R was facing the right way. And the rest of the words were off.
Good times.
Jeffrey was a little inappropriate at times, but that's a whole nother story.
No, Jeffrey was a giraffe. Jeffrey could make you laugh. Crank the thing and out he comes. Remember that?
No, I don't. I remember the Toys R Us, biggest section, Toys R Us. And I was connected to the holiday. It's the Toys R Us time of year. Toys R Us. Wow.
And also sponsor today is Toys R Us.
We sing that and we just open the door and the ladies just find their way in.
That's the new caroling, is hired advertising caroling in front of homes. Toys R Us, Toys R Us. You should be out shopping right now.
And for our listeners, you can get a lot of great deals at Toys R Us.
We can.
Our new sponsor.
All right. Okay. Well, this has been great.
This has been
covering a lot of
laughs, fellas.
Yeah.
Solid laughs, fellas.
Solid laughs.
Yeah, there were a couple moments that I regret now.
Do you really? Because they're going in.
But this was most of it was fun.
It was good.
Most of it was fun. Wow. Yeah, the parts when I was hearing me were great.
Yeah, that was good.
Oh, but what else? What else is new?
Well, Matt, this has been great.
Yes,
it has. Really has.
And I think if we really wanted to keep this thing going, we could seriously, I think, do another 4 hours.
Yeah,
sure. We could do a part two.
I think I have to have one less cocktail or so, and then I could probably do another one. But this has been fun.
But enough about us.
Yes.
Rick Overton.
We
always love it when our guests plug something, and I know you're always working, and so I would love if you could tell our listeners, what do you got going? You got something coming up? Something that's on the air now that we should be checking into?
Coming up in just a couple of weeks. I just did the ADR today for Speechless on ABC.
Nice. Sweet.
Cool. A lot of fun. And I'm recurring on I'm Dying Up Here on Showtime as the Tonight Show booker from 1973.
Beautiful. A loving salute to that time of stand-up that we all know
just
well.
pre-boom.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, you have a podcast that we can find on...
you can find it on iTunes. It's called Overview with Rick Overton. And
Overview,
and there's about 50 episodes, and we're going to get some more at some point. Just right now, that's the amount, and
we'll put a link up. How do you like that?
I would appreciate that.
Cool.
Fellas, you're swell.
You scratch our back, we lather you up.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, and please come back again, like maybe tomorrow.
All right, it's a deal.
Done.
Time for listener shout-out. This goes out to a new listener named Jack Dickey.
Jack Dickey!
Who hails from...
That sounds like a pulp writer.
It does.
Hails from Alabaster, Alabama, but originally from San Jose.
Wow.
Right.
Jack sent us a really nice message on Facebook. Says, "Hey guys, love the show. I listen to many different types of podcasts, but Monster Party is my favorite.
Yeah. Ours too.
I'm working my way through the past episodes and listen to 4 or 5 a day while driving.
Wow.
Cool. It's got a long commute.
Don't burn out. Don't burn out.
Don't fall asleep at the wheel.
He won't fall asleep because there's a lot of great stuff. That's funny and informative.
Yeah,
I often find myself yelling out movie titles and laughing hysterically.
Good.
I hope it's okay to comment on older episodes.
Ooh.
During the crossovers we would like to see episode, the subject of fast zombies came up again. Doesn't it always? Yeah. And I was thinking of a crossover just for Larry. Great. Fast Zombies at Ridgemont High, where the zombies are created due to a mishap in Mr. Hand's class, and the only way to kill them is hitting them in the head with Spicoli's shoe. Anyway,
Genius.
Keep the party strong, and thanks for the show. A kindred spirit and big fan, Jack Dickey.
All right. Thanks, Jack.
That was
Thanks
genius.
so much. Awesome.
That's great.
Fast zombies at Ridgemont High. I love that.
Well, you know, there's you
I
can
wanna
put in
that.
some musical numbers. You know, I guess that could be
Musical
something.
numbers?
Yeah, I can see that.
Also,
you know.
a couple of follow-up shout-outs.
All right.
One of them is to Jay Gunn, the comic creator in the UK.
Jake Gunn.
Right.
Who commented on Twitter that he really liked our sci-fi taglines episode, and he tagged Christopher Fowler, a friend of his. Christopher Fowler is an author in his own right over in the UK, and he's particularly notable for coming up with the tagline, "In space, no one can hear you scream."
Is that right?
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
Wow.
that's so
That's
cool.
legendary.
And he just tweeted, "Great, now that'll probably be on my headstone."
Wow.
You know what?
It's amazing,
No,
though,
look,
right?
I,
Like,
that's
look,
great.
I just want to say this. I just want to say this to you. If that is on your tombstone, that you should be thrilled. Because I mean, that is amazing. I mean, I would go to the UK just to see your headstone.
Yeah. If that
We
were me,
can't
I
wait
would-
till you die so we can go to see
No,
your.
no, no,
I
no,
would
no.
put
I
that
no,
on
I want you.
everything.
No, I want you to have a long and happy
Of
life.
course,
Don't get me
of course.
wrong.
No,
but that's something you
that's-
should be
that's
proud
amazing,
of.
though.
I
but
always
that's
thought
like-
it was some marketing guy at Fox.
Yeah,
I didn't
no,
know that it
that's-
was an
I would have a
actual-
That's
bumper
great.
sticker on the back of my car that said, "If you can read this, you're in space and no one can hear you."
Yeah.
Also,
That's awesome.
quick shout out again to Rob Lorich, who
Rob
All right,
Lorich.
Rob.
we've done a shout out for Rob before, but he just shared the news that most of the Showa Godzilla movies are going to be released by Criterion. And this news broke today.
Really?
Yes.
So that means they're going to be like $40 for each DVD.
But you know,
Right,
there might be
right.
there might be special stuff.
Yeah,
like maybe
the
they
audio
better be-
commentary,
or maybe they'll
and the original trailer.
yeah, and or maybe they might have
No,
maybe
I-
a podcast group put in their 2 cents.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I have
they'll
to. I have to
have-
admit, I am excited about it though because
It'll be
it's
an
about,
essay.
It's about time.
Criterion
if they
does a
put them
great
out,
job.
the Showa ones especially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
War of
Yeah,
the
If they're, if
Gargantuan.
they're doing all of them.
Criterion does a
Yeah.
great job
No, they
when
do.
it comes to the prints and all that.
No, yeah, it's
just-
loving-
really, does it have to be $40?
You can find deals though.
Look,
Yeah.
look,
Yeah.
they go through all the extra effort to bring that high quality to you.
I do appreciate that.
So
and I do like them.
So I'm sorry,
just
it's not a
saying,
cheap,
why
a cheap
is it-
Walmart copy. Okay.
I do question why it has to be so expensive.
It's kind of funny that actually that Criterion, Criterion proudly presents Godzilla versus Megalon.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of hilarious,
Yeah.
but great at the same time.
Yeah, it's almost like a joke. I'll wait for the
Yeah.
Criterion, and now
Yeah.
audio
Wow.
commentary
Look,
by
and-
Megalon.
And I just want to say,
Yes.
look, when they do these, Matt, they're not going to be selling millions of copies. They're just making this to,
Yeah,
it's going to
well,
go
for the niche
Godzilla, they
thousands,
have-
Yeah.
thousands.
And I have noticed too that in certain things, when it comes to certain films, sometimes the price does go down a little bit.
Yeah,
and so
and-
maybe these will
yeah.
be cheaper because they do have a broader appeal. Because
Yeah,
everybody
yeah.
loves Godzilla.
Who doesn't?
Maybe there'll be box
Yeah.
sets too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
That'd be
That
great.
would be a
Yeah.
little cheaper way to get it, hopefully. Yeah,
True.
that's
Yeah.
awesome, actually.
Another
that's great news.
follow-up shout out.
there's more. Whoa.
One
Wow.
more
Oh no!
to Steve,
Criterion has released.
Steve Reines.
Steve
otherwise known as,
Reines!
Steve in Manhattan, originally from Washington, D.C. And Steve was the very first listener who noticed that we just uploaded all the Monster Party podcasts onto YouTube.
That's right. Yes, he did.
Dun, dun.
He took a picture.
He did, indeed. And so
We gotta
Steve,
post that.
Thank you for
All
that.
right.
And-
Yes, thank
and
you, Steve.
Let's
So-
also let our listeners know that, yes, all the Monster Party back catalog is now also streaming available for free on YouTube.
And
Right.
Steve has been to Japan.
He has.
Yes.
Ah.
Yeah. And he had some restaurant suggestions.
That's
so
true. Yeah.
I'm going to take him up on those.
So, Steve,
Cool.
thank you for listening. Glad you enjoyed the show. I want to thank all of our listeners for listening. And let's also remind everyone that you can find us on Facebook and YouTube at Monster Party TV, at Twitter at Monster Party HQ. Instagram is also Monster Party HQ. Check out our eBay store, Monster Party Store is the name of it, easy to remember, for the official Monster Party cap. It's a beautiful item, breathable, 150
Stainless steel
billion stitches.
rivets.
Yes, 50 billion, James. Yes.
No, 150 billion.
No.
It's a beautiful garment item, cap, whatever.
It's a cap. It's a high quality
Garment
cap.
item.
Winter is coming, so you want to keep your head warm.
Yeah.
So keep your head warm.
It's toasty, that cap.
Well, that's great. Speaking of toasty, I want to thank our sponsors at Creature Features. Yes.
The toastiest monster shop in town.
It is. It is. It's a fantastic place located at 2904 West Magnolia Boulevard in beautiful downtown Burbank.
It's room temperature.
Look, Taylor, Eric, and Matt, they do a fantastic job of keeping that place stocked with everything you could want for all of your monster needs,
including the Monster Party flyer.
Yes, the monster. But that's not for sale. You can just go and get that, you know. But they have
only 300 left.
They have amazing toys and models and CDs, and they have these art shows every once in a while. You got to check out their website. It gives all the information about their upcoming events.
And soundtracks.
Yes. Well, they have loads and loads of soundtracks.
Oh, yeah.
What was the soundtrack that Taylor just did recently?
Oh God, he's always churning them out. But he recently, he had done Day of the Dolphin, and we brought that up.
Yes,
right.
What was the last one he did? I don't know. I can't even keep up. But he's always producing new.
There's always a new one that he's got
that was never released before that fans really clamor for. So he's doing a public service.
Yeah,
yes, he is.
And so Taylor does an amazing job. You can also check out their eBay store at C Features, and they have a ton of stuff up on eBay. So you want to check that out.
Oh, yeah.
Also want to thank Time Tunnel Toys. Hey! Time Tunnel Toys at 1583 Meridian Avenue in beautiful downtown San Jose, California. Joe and Sharon, they do an amazing job. They specialize in vintage toys. And it's a place filled with vintage toys.
You don't have enough places that have real genuine vintage stuff.
Well, what's cool is, I mean, you say, oh, I can go to eBay, I can go to this, but it's like how Joe and Sharon are able to get all this stuff, and it's packed. It's got all kinds of monster stuff, kitschy stuff. They have like black velvet paintings. It's so cool. And then just about every 4 to 6 months, they organize a special antique toy show in San Jose. So go to their website, Time Tunnel Toys, and get the information. Fabulous place.
And Larry, we were just talking about in this episode the smell of toys.
Yes.
Talk about that's what you don't get from eBay.
Yeah.
You got to go to a store like this and go to that toy show.
Nothing beats.
Get that musty, good old toy smell. I love that. It makes me calm.
Yeah, as great as eBay is, there's something. Nothing beats going to a convention or a toy store or a toy show. Nothing beats that.
I love it.
Just having it all around you.
Yeah, and finding that one thing. Like,
yeah. Physically digging through something is always a good time. Yeah,
love that feeling.
Yeah. On that note, I am Matt Weinhold.
I am Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Strothe.
And I'm James Gonis.
Keep America strong!
Watch movies from the past that depict improbable futures. And remember, this holiday season, shop at Toys R Us. If you want trouble... Yes, we can all hear Shawn Sheridan. Let's shoot up a flare.
Test.
Shawn can hear himself. Wow. Narcissist party starts again. Yes, we're talking, Larry. What are you doing? Oh, and don't open the dishwasher again. It's better now. It's better. No, it's better.
Toxic.
We put my wife. The dishwasher broke down, so my wife. It was smelling a little bit, so my wife put in some Pine Sol.
Good God!
A lot of Pine Sol.
And apparently, that's not good for food.
Oh no!
I didn't we didn't realize. It keeps things clean, right?
So I could see myself in the food. Yeah. It's so shiny.
Yeah, and I like that when you got a clean plate, you put a sandwich on it, you eat the sandwich, you pass out.
That's the
wake up 2 days later.
That was a good meal. That's Thanksgiving plus.
Yeah. If only life were always this way.
Nighty night, everythly. See you in a week.
Yeah. Are you going to tell them what happened?
So anyway, we had in the middle of a show, Larry, through no fault of his own,
he was trying to
clean up some things, open the dishwasher, this smell of ammonia comes out, and we all, and again, we woke up 3 hours later going, wow.
Welcome to Jupiter. This is our atmosphere.
Yeah, we woke up and it was dun 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 dun.
Wait,
All right, who gets to be Gil Gerard?
That's right.
but he wasn't on Jupiter though.
He could have
been. They didn't get to that episode yet. In my fan fiction, he goes to Jupiter.
Oh, okay.
So dirty, that fan fiction. Oh, man. Tweaky. Yeah, you fill in the blanks. You, Doctor, who is it?
Thermopolis.
Theopolis.
I thought it was Thermopolis.
Theopolis.
Theopolis.
I thought he was Greek.
He is Greek.
Yeah.
It's not Thermopolis.
That's how it translates when it's shown in Greece, right?
Yes.
And come on, let's be completely Freudian honest about Twiki. All right, will someone just step up and say it?
That's true. He has
What?
a penis head.
He has a dick head.
Yeah, that's what Gil
Helmet.
Gerard said when he
What?
first saw it. His head is shaped
What?
like a penis. The
His
head
head
of
is
a
a
penis.
beady. I'm Freudian.
Okay, you guys have just wrecked Tweaky for me now.
Wow, it took all that? Wow, it only...
I know,
Wait.
I know that. And I still love Tweety.
I didn't know he looks like a penis.
Well,
He has a
look at
little
his head.
face. He's got a little face
Look
on
at
his
the
head.
Look at the helmet, though.
Someone circumcised my face.
And he says, "What's the thing?" He doesn't just come up with any noise. He goes, beady, over and over. Come on,
Look,
man.
okay, look. I thought
Who
that
has-
Am I the only guy that can see this, man? Of course, I was a younger man then.
Right, well, you know,
Look,
who
I-
hasn't said that in the throes of passion?
Look, I think that was
Beady, baby.
Yes. I thought that was stupid at the time. I did.
But looking back, things are so much
makes sense.
stupider now.
But
Beady makes sense now.
But Rick, that has nothing to do with like it's like he's like a sexual robot or like a wiener
How do you
head
know?
thing. What beady? Who says that?
Where did Tweaky go when there wasn't an episode? He went back to his quarters and just sat there?
Maybe he hung out with Aaron Gray and Pamela
Guys,
Hensley.
it's a robot.
He's got bills to pay, electrical bills.
Okay,
He's not Thomas Edison, you know?
Okay, now, Rick, I just want to point something out to you, sir. I
can't wait for this.
If you recall, I mean, you're going off on Tweaky here.
Yeah.
But remember, he had Dr. Theopolis around his neck, right?
Medallion
Yes,
computer
yes,
with
yeah.
a
So-
chain like
so-
like he was Flava Flav.
Yeah.
Gargantuan
He was
disc.
the Flava Flav of the 23rd century.
Yeah. Hey, Tweaky, isn't it about time we did some research back in your quarters? People will just think I'm a clock.
See, I don't think they had that kind of relationship. Okay, as a matter of fact,
Never
I
know.
think no, Sean, no. Tweaky was a servant, basically. I mean, Dr. Theopolis was he was the circular like clock thing.
was
He
the
couldn't.
brain
He couldn't.
of the-
Yeah, he was a brain. He couldn't go anywhere. He couldn't do
When is
anything.
Tweaky going to come forward with a list of accusers?
It was Bug.
Okay, let's not timestamp this. Okay, come on.
There's
It's eternal.
There's no timestamp on this.
You're not recording this, are you?
I'm recording all of this. Yeah.
Because this just come on. This is not
All right,
cool.
Shall we start this
Yes, yes.
ridiculous thing?
God help us. You know, we'll have to do a Buck Rogers show though eventually because
Sure.
there's so much Buck Rogers stuff.
There is.
It's not just the TV show and Tweaky.
Yeah, no, it's true.
But we'll save that. for
Another show where the space helmet is just this crash helmet. If you crack the glass, that's it, pal.
Yeah.
Another one where it's
that's
just like
true.
a little. I have a visor over my eyes.
yes.
And that's like, yeah. Good luck during massive deep space decompression with
Yes.
your eye visor.
Yeah. Have you noticed the giant seam that's exposed under your chin?
Yeah, with the helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
There's
Now-
a good example I have actually for the show about that.
Okay,
right,
now
okay.
I just want to say, Rick, when I saw this, I bought it, hook, line, and sinker. I just saw it and said it's like a crash helmet kind of a thing.
Yeah, like then later on they'd have shows where you have a pressure suit
Yeah,
on
like
Right.
it
a
looks
helmet
like
when you're in
really
a fighter.
realistic.
You're stupid if you don't have that on in a fighter.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to eject from the fighter and then you're dead.
Yeah.
It's true.
All
You gotta
right.
have the suit.
Okay. Save it. Save it.
All right.
Let's do it. Ready?
Wait, you know what the topic is?
Topic
Future
is
past.
Okay. All right.
Tweaky
And we will
sex.
explain it.
Okay. Good. Good. I like
We
the
will explain
explanations.
it. Okay.
I'm sorry we're not doing the Twicky joke.
No, we're doing that. No, that's all there. It's all going to be in.
Well, actually,
Funny laughs.
well, I don't.
It's
wanna
all
say
going to be
anything.
in the extras
I
at
don't
the
wanna
end of the episode, Brick.
I mean,
we're not going to waste 1 minute of this. Fucking
Twinkie is a robot.
Android gold.
Maybe
this Android white gold.
All right.